All right, that was our trailer. And for the people just joining us on this pre-recorded session, we are playing Blades in the Dark, which is a really fun heist-based role-playing game. And I've got a sort of promo for it that you guys can check out. But I think I asked you guys this before. None of you have played Blades before, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
And have
That's
any of you
right.
excellent? Have any of you played a role-playing game at all before?
Not tabletop.
I've done a couple of sessions of D&D, but like that was in middle school, so I largely don't remember what happened.
All right, so this is going to be an adventure for all of us because I've also never run a game of Blades in the Dark before. But I think that this is actually a game that might be easier to pick up if you've never played a game before. So that's kind of what we're trying out here. It's a bit of an adventure, a bit of an experiment. So the basic idea, and I'll just be sort of starting at really elementary things here. This is a game about playing criminals. They call them scoundrels in the book. So everything that you want in Blades in the Dark, someone else has. And so if you want anything, you're going to be taking it from somebody else somehow. So that's really what the game is about. And, it's a somewhat gritty game because everything, there's real potential for your characters to get hurt or otherwise incapacitated or, knocked out of commission. So what the plan is to sort of run this as a campaign with a bunch of people being able to sort of roll in and roll out. And the idea would be we've got a crew that not everyone is on every particular score, every particular mission, but we can sort of do that. You guys are going to have some additional power to set what we're doing here because some of the decisions that we make today will be affecting the larger campaign because we're setting up the crew today. So we're going to start, and I think everybody said that they had the Blades player kit. I linked that sort of earlier in the Discord. Do you guys all have that?
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Excellent. And I'm also going to drop you guys a link to the downloads. And the reason why is that in a moment you may need a download for sort of the character sheets. So I'm just going to put that in the Discord as well here, just so that everybody's got it. There we go. All right, so we'll sort of start at the real fundamentals on all of this and talk about how the game is played first. So the game is going to involve a series of, your characters are going to get into trouble, and there are going to be different obstacles and headaches and so forth that they have to overcome. And this might be anything from I want to sneak across this alleyway without those people seeing me, to I'm trying to pick a lock, to I want to win this bar fight, to I want to blow up that bridge. All of these are sort of things you might want to do. And so to do that, you're going to sort of take actions which may involve rolls. And you're going to have sort of an action rating for each of those things that will give you a number of 6-sided dice. And we're going to roll those on Discord using the bot there. But you also, for each roll that you make, you're going to have both a position and an effect level. And what that means is position is basically how dangerous is what you're doing. So as an example, let's say I'm trying to stab somebody, and a controlled position, which is the best, they might be not paying attention. They're looking out the window. They don't know that I'm there. They might be asleep, something like that. I'm trying to, whereas a risky position might be we're in a knife fight, right? If I try to stab this guy, he might stab me back. And a desperate position might be he's got a gun on me and I'm trying to stab him, right? At that point, you're talking about he's got the drop on you and you're in a much more risky position. There's also effect, which can determine sort of what the actual effectiveness is. If you're trying to punch, somebody who's in a wheelchair, I don't recommend that, but you might have your reasons. you might have a greater effect than if you're trying to go, hand to hand with a demon, where your effect is probably going to be minimal, if any. Right? Similarly, if you're trying to smash an egg with a sledgehammer, that egg's going to get annihilated. But if you're trying to knock down a bridge, we've lost somebody. Hopefully she's back shortly. If you're trying to smash a bridge with a sledgehammer, it's going to take, a while if you're even able to do it at all. So that is sort of how that goes. And to make a roll, and we'll just, hey, sorry about that. So to make a roll, you're going to determine how many dice you've got. You're going to roll those, and then you're going to look at your best number. And so if your best number is a 1, 2, or 3, then you are going to fail that roll. If your best roll is a 4 or a 5, which is usually what will happen, at least it's the most likely way to succeed, you get a partial success, which means it works with a but. There's, you might stab the guy and only take a minor wound in return in that knife fight. Or, and the degree of complications that apply might depend on what, and we've lost them again. Hopefully this is not too much of an issue, but internet connections. So the degree of complication will depend on your your position. Because if you are in that place where you're rushing somebody with a knife, that complication might be a lot worse than if you're trying to smash the egg with a sledgehammer. So a 6 is a complete success, which is basically things go off without a hitch, which is rare. And if you have more than 1 6, then you've got a critical success. Not only did you succeed, but you succeeded so well that, in fact, it's better than you expected. So that is sort of the basics of this. That's sort of how things go. There's a number of sort of circumstances where we might make other rolls. And one of the more important ones for you to realize or to know about is resistance rolls. Resistance rolls are a place where you as a player can say to me as the GM, nah, that doesn't happen. When I say that you guys are about to experience some sort of negative complication or consequence, you can say, no, that one we're not doing. The wonderful benefit of it is it always succeeds. It will always reduce the effect of the complication. However, you will have to make a roll, and I will sort of tell you what the roll will be as to what you need to roll to avoid that. And the better you do, the less less stress you take. So you will take some stress as a result. All right. So let's sort of start off with character creation. Character creation. Actually, maybe I'll back up a little bit. The other way you can tell me, nah, that's not what happens, and really change the narrative is with a flashback. And a flashback doesn't let you undo something that's happened. But what it does let you do is it lets you add something to the scene by having your character basically retroactively do something. So if you watch, a heist movie or something, they'll show, oh, you thought this guy was getting, tricked, but it turns out that he's actually ahead of the game because he did something, advanced planning. That's what flashbacks are for. And flashbacks will cost you stress depending on how difficult they were. If they were something real simple that you could have done at any time, that might be 0 stress. If it's something that is, a little more complicated or unlikely, 1, or if it's really complicated or really unlikely or the like, 2 stress. And I'll usually have you make a roll. It'll usually be a pretty quick thing for a flashback. So character creation, we're going to start with, that's sort of your first choice. And so there's a number of different, they call them playbooks. In other setting or other games, they might call them like a character class. And what they determine is how your character approaches problems. And, what do they do in the world? How do they solve things? And so your options there are the cutter, And the cutters are basically combative. They solve problems through violence, and they get extra experience if they solve a problem with violence or coercion. So if you want to play somebody who is kind of the muscle, that's a cutter. So you can think of things like from Firefly, Jane would probably be a cutter. He's the guy who you bring out when you want something, when you want violence done to something. Your next option for that is the Hound. And a Hound is basically, they kind of think a bounty hunter. They search for things. They investigate. Sherlock Holmes might be a Hound, but similarly, Boba Fett might be a Hound. Like, that's kind of the idea. So they also tend to be sharpshooters, and they're more kind of sneaky, ambushy, that kind of style of things. Next up is the Leech. And leeches are saboteurs and technical experts. So they're the people who work with machines. They're the people who I think I'll just read here. They say, "The world is built on industry, and the underworld is no different. Leeches are the scoundrels who distill the drugs, refine the arcane essences, build the bombs, bandage the wounds, and forge the tools of the criminal trades. And knowing how to make things also means knowing how to break them." So Batman might be a decent leech if you think about his utility belt. Although you could probably put that same concept into like this, the Batman concept probably encompasses a number of things. Lurks are infiltrators and burglars. So the description of lurk is, there's no longer any sunlight. The world is plunged into eternal night. There are scoundrels who live in the darkness, who prowl the underworld unseen, trespassing where they will. They are the burglars, the spies, the infiltrators, the cutthroats, commonly called lurks. So that's your next option there. After that, we've got slides, and slides are manipulators. They're the people who use disguises and deception. So it's said that the primal substance of the world is not mere matter or strange plasms, it's lies. Everything we do, everything we care about, everything we value, all lies we tell each other and ourselves. The world is a fabrication, a convenient fiction, a story, and the storytellers are slides. So con artists would be slides. A master spy would be a slide. Next option is spiders, and they are masterminds. So the underworld may appear on the surface to be a chaotic array of warring factions and bloody deeds, but it has a beautiful order to those who are able to see it. This pattern is the web of connections, favors, vendettas, and secrets that bind the criminal world together. The scoundrels who pluck the strands of this web are known as spiders. And spiders get extra experience for addressing a challenge with calculation or conspiracy. I'll go back a little because I didn't say that for all the others. Slides get extra experience for addressing a challenge with deception or influence. Lurks get extra experience for addressing a challenge through stealth or evasion. Leeches get extra experience by addressing a challenge with technical skill or mayhem. And hounds get extra experience for addressing a challenge with tracking or violence. So a little bit of overlap there. You'll notice that this game actually has a lot of overlaps between how different things may solve things. And I think last is the Whisper. And Whispers are kind of interesting. They are arcane adepts and challengers. And the sort of text for that is, Duskwall is a haunted place, plagued by rogue spirits, consumed by vengeance, by cunning demons manipulating humans for their own inscrutable purposes, and by even stranger horrors lurking in the space just beyond sight and reason. To go into this shadowy world without knowledge of the arcane and the occult is to walk unarmed into the lair of the enemy. The Whispers are the sentinels who watch the greater darkness, staring into the void so others don't have to. And so when you play a Whisper, you earn experience when you address a challenge with knowledge or arcane power. So that's the Whisper. So do you guys have any questions, or do you guys have thoughts as to which you would like to play?
I'm open
And
for
keep-
just
No
about anything.
questions and no idea.
Keep in mind, this is also not a decision that, if you try something and you find you don't like it, you can change it later. There's all sorts of ways you can either make a new character as an option, but you can also retool a character. You can adjust them. So if you find that your character that you end up with isn't who you kind of thought they would be, you can make that adjustment as we go. So we're going to need to pick some people, and really it doesn't much matter because every problem has multiple solutions, right? This is kind of a way to address things. So we'll just, I guess, go around and I'll sort of get people to pick. And if you look in your player guide there, I'm just trying to see here where if there's a list that's convenient, or if you have to just scroll through the pages. It looks like there's just you'll have to sort of go through pages. It looks like 3 to 3 to the end of that. So I guess I'll start. Devin, you mentioned you've played a couple of games of D&D. Have you got any thoughts of what you might like to try?
I think I might try out the Leech.
Sounds good. And I'd say go ahead and grab on that downloads page. There's a Leech character sheet that's just on its own. So that should be hopefully convenient. Now, sadly, this one doesn't. Yeah, I was going to say, sadly, this doesn't seem to have a autofill. Let me see if I can find some fillable blades in the dark character sheets, because that seems like a thing that we might want. So I think I may have found some that you can just fill in. Yes, excellent. So I'm just going to drop that link in the Discord here so that you guys have that. This might have some better sheets for things to play. You'll see on that list of playbooks things like Ghost, Hull, and Vampire. Those we're not going to play with right at the moment. All right, so I guess we'll go sort of in a circle. Dragon's Angel. Any thoughts on what you might want to try?
I think I'll go for Hound.
Hound it is. So grab a copy of that character sheet. The one that I just linked in the Discord is probably the best one to go with because it lets you just pick things off as we go. And so we've lost 9 Inch Nails gal again. Lindsay, what are you thinking?
I think I'll go with Whisper.
Sounds good. So grab that sheet there, and we'll have to see if 9 Inch Nails gal makes it back. Oh, there we go. Hey, we've got one Leech, one Hound, one Whisper. So, Rack, did you decide what you'd like to play? And you're
muted.
I think I'm going to be a Hound too.
Sounds good. So we got a couple of Hounds. All right, and I linked in the Discord a PDF fillable character sheet, which will make your life a little easier. All right, so once you've got that, the next choice is going to be to pick a heritage, which is where did you come from? And so I'm just going to find that in my little book here so that I can give you a quick description on that. And give me a second. The joys of trying to find these things.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just fun moments of trying to track all this stuff down sometimes in books. As I mentioned, this is my first time running this. I have so we've got everybody here is new to some degree, and that is hopefully gonna work out fun, but we'll have to see.
Let's see here.
All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the description of heritages. I might have to rely on the index. It's not. Heritage, page 53 or 57. There we go. All right. So next up is choosing a heritage. So these are different places you might come from as your character. Like, where are you from? So Akaros is the largest and most industrialized land in the Imperium, and is home to the capital city as well as Duskwall itself. So Duskwall is part of Akaros. They're known as a diverse conglomeration of cultures that have grown together in close proximity for centuries, somewhat like Europe. So that's sort of your first choice. The next is, if you want to be a rootless wanderer, you could be from the Dagger Isles. People there often grow up on ships and travel a lot before settling down. They're known as corsairs and merchants who live without lightning barriers, dealing with spirits in other ways. So, kind of think, a lot of sort of piratey sorts of folks out there, and merchants and the like. If you want to be from a culture considered foreign by the locals, you could be from Maruvia, a rich and powerful desert kingdom far to the south. It's another diverse land of varying cultures similar to old Persia, Egypt, and India. And if you want to be from a place considered wild by the rest of the empire, you could be from Severos. Outside the few imperial settlements, most Severosi live in nomadic horse tribes scattered around the blasted Deathlands, surviving within the ruins of ancient arcane fortresses which still repel spirits. If you want to be from a marginalized people, you could be from Skovlan, the island kingdom just across the sea from Doskball. Skovlan was last to be brought under imperial rule over the course of the 36-year Unity War, which ended only a few years ago. Many Skovlander refugees who lost their homes and jobs in the destruction of the war have come to Doskfall seeking new opportunities. And lastly, if you want to be weird, you can be from Tykeros. It's a semi-mythical place far away beyond the Northern Void Sea. Everyone says that the people there are part demon. If you choose Tykerosi heritage, also created demonic telltale, like black shark eyes, feathers instead of hair, etc., that marks your character. So, where do people want to be from?
I think I'll be from Severos.
So, one Severosi.
I think I'm going to go
What
with
was that
Tykeros.
last one again?
The last one is Tykeros. If you want to be weird, it is semi-mythical, far away from beyond the Northern Void Sea, and everyone says that they're part demon, and plus every character that is from Tykeros is going to have some element of weirdness. I can bring up
There's a summary and map on page 25 of the player kit.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
That makes our life a little easier.
I think I'm going to be from Targaros too.
Sounds good. And I think Dragon's Angel or...
Well, I guess we need some diversity here. I'll go Dagger Isles.
Sounds good. And I mean, a group of mostly Tykerosi criminals would also work well. So this is one of those things where it's like you can go similar, you can go all over the place. It's really... this isn't really a game that really requires class balance or anything like some other games. It's not like Dungeons and Dragons where you're like, who's going to play the cleric? Instead, it's just play what you like. Now, everybody's also going to need a background. And I don't know if that's sort of listed in the in our reference here. It might be. I'm just trying to pull that up here.
I haven't seen anything about it.
All right, so backgrounds are not super complicated because ultimately it's just sort of what did you do beforehand? Like, what did you do before all of this? So options here, academic. So you might be a scholar, professor, or student from Dusk Academy, a philosopher, journalist, etc. Labor. So you might be a servant, a factory worker, coach driver, docker, a sailor, railjack, etc. So basically, you know, any of these things, this is your life before you decided to turn to being a scoundrel. Law, an advocate or barrister, a blue coat or inspector. Blue coats are cops, or even spirit warden, a prison guard from Ironhook, etc. Trades, so you might be a shopkeeper, a merchant, a skilled craftsperson, a shipping agent, etc. Or you could be from the military, an imperial or Skovlander soldier, a mercenary, an intelligence operative, a strategist, a training instructor, etc. Or a noble, so a dilettante, a courtier, the scion of a fallen house, etc. Or underworld, you might have grown up as a street urchin, gang member, young thug, or other outcast who grew up on the streets. So lots of options there, but they're basically just a broad category of sort of what you do. And so, you know, basically for a background, you can sort of pick the main category and then a detail about it, right? So you might pick law. I used to be a blue coat. Whoops, I'm breaking things here. Or, you know, labor. I used to be a coal miner. You know, those kinds of things. So each of you can just sort of note that. Let me know sort of when you've decided, but also you can put that on your sheet. There's a spot for your background, I think. Now I'm looking
Yes.
at the sheet.
Yep.
Yeah, there is.
Yep.
I'm going to go academic.
I was also going to go academic, but what would that be in Severosi of horse tribes and stuff?
I mean, you might have been in Duskfall for a while, right? So you might
Yeah.
be. So. Also, I mean, you know, in the horse tribes, there's got to be some lore keepers. There's got to be some, you know, all sorts of things.
I think I'm going to go
I'm
into
gonna go
law and be a
military.
barrister.
Sounds good. And there's one other I didn't hear there.
Military.
Sounds good. All right. Now, the next thing everyone's going to have to do is assign 4 action dots. And so what that means is that when you look at sort of, I'm just trying to see here. So your playbook will begin with 3 dots already placed. And so if you're looking at that form fillable one, you can see that there's some dots already down, right? Already sort of established. You then get to add 4 more dots. So you'll have a total of 7. And you'll note that you can't be good at everything. In fact, you're going to start off with some major missing places. At the start of the game, no action rating may have more than 2 dots unless a special ability tells you otherwise. And so they suggest putting 1 dot that you in an action that you feel reflects your character's heritage, so where you come from. 1 dot in any action that you feel reflects your character's background, and then 2 dots anywhere else that you please. But again, max rating is 2. And so once you've placed your 4 remaining dots, we'll sort of proceed from there. But And I can sort of describe what these skills are, because that probably makes some sense here, now that I think about it. So each of these actions is a way of trying to solve a problem. And one thing that's kind of interesting is that they do have some overlap to them. So each way of solving a problem, you might be able to accomplish the same thing with a different stat. And so I'll just sort of pull up their descriptions of some of this stuff because it's kind of useful. Just give me a second while I pull up those lists. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it in the book. If I was smart, I would have tabbed a bunch of this stuff. But
The magic
smart
of
is not
editing.
always. Yeah, well, smart is not always how I roll. And yeah, I can edit, but I don't know that we need to at this point.
I'm still trying to figure out a name.
Names are later in the process.
It's the first thing on the character sheet.
It's true. I find it's easier to come up with a name once I sort of know what the character is like. You know, once I have some idea of that. But yeah. All right, so I'll just read you the sort of action section. So when you attune, you open your mind to the ghost field or other arcane power. And the ghost field is basically the entire city, because the world is kind of gone chaotic, has sort of low-grade ghost energy throughout it. And so that can affect things in various different kinds of ways. So they give examples. They say you might communicate with a ghost or understand aspects of spectrology. You could try to proceed beyond sight in order to better understand your situation, but surveying might be better. And next is when you command, you compel swift obedience. You might intimidate or threaten to get what you want. You might lead a gang in a group action. You could try to order people around to persuade them, but consorting might be better. And when you consort, you socialize with friends and contacts. You might gain access to resources, information, people, or places. You might make a good impression or win someone over with your charm and style. You might make new friends or connect with your heritage or background. You could try to manipulate your friends with social pressure, but sway might be better. Next is when you finesse, you employ dexterous manipulation or subtle misdirection. You might pick someone's pocket. You might handle the controls of a vehicle or direct a mount. You might formally duel an opponent with graceful fighting arts. You could try to employ those arts in a chaotic melee, but skirmishing might be better. You could try to pick a lock, but tinkering might be better. When you hunt, you carefully track a target. You might follow a target or discover their location. You might arrange an ambush. You might attack with precision shooting from a distance. You could try to bring your guns to bear in a melee, but skirmishing might be better. And when you prowl, you traverse skillfully and quietly. So you might sneak past a guard or hide in the shadows. You might run and leap across the rooftops. You might attack someone from hiding with a backstab or blackjack. You could try to waylay a victim in the midst of battle, but skirmishing might be better. And when you skirmish, you entangle a target in close combat so they can't easily escape. You might brawl or wrestle with them. You might hack and slash. You might seize or hold a position in battle. You could try to fight in a formal duel, but finessing might be better. And when you study, you scrutinize details and interpret evidence. You might gather information from documents, newspapers, and books. You might do research on an esoteric topic. You might closely analyze a person to detect lies or true feelings. You could try to examine events to understand a pressing situation, but surveying might be better. And when you survey, you observe the situation and anticipate outcomes. You might spot telltale signs of trouble before it happens. You might uncover opportunities or weaknesses. You might detect a person's motivations or intentions. You could try to spot a good ambush point, but hunting might be better. And when you sway, you influence people with guile, charm, or argument. You might lie convincingly. You might persuade someone to do what you want. You might argue a compelling case that leaves no clear rebuttal. You could try to trick people into affection or obedience, but consorting or commanding might be better. And when you tinker, you fiddle with devices and mechanisms. You might create a new gadget or alter an existing item. You might pick a lock or crack a safe. You might disable an alarm or trap. You might turn the clockwork and electroplasmic devices around the city to your advantage. You could try to use your technical expertise to control a vehicle, but finessing might be better. And when you wreck, you unleash savage force. You might smash down a door or wall with a sledgehammer, or use an explosive to do the same. You might employ chaos or sabotage to create a distraction or overcome an obstacle. You could try to overwhelm an enemy with sheer force in battle, but skirmishing might be better. So these things overlap, and kind of sometimes the boundaries of them are fuzzy, and that's on purpose. They meant to do that. So lots of ways to solve a problem. If you want to be sort of, different fights might call for different sort of area or ways to approach them. And, different styles of how you do things might call for different approaches. This also means that at some point you are probably going to be rolling kind of something that is iffy. And when you do that, you might have lesser effect, or it might be a little harder. If you're trying to get everyone at a party to, quiet down and listen to you, you might be able to do that with command by just shouting, everyone shut up, pay attention. Or you might be able to do it with wreck by, smashing something so that everyone stops what they're doing and looks over. Command might be the better one, and wreck might put you in a worse position. You might be, for instance, in a desperate position, or instead of, a controlled position. All of these things are kind of how that goes. So, have people managed to place dots?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. And I've closed my book because, again, not the smartest person, but we'll proceed with character generation here. I just got to look up what our next step is. And the character generation on this one is fairly painless overall, because I can just kind of read things to you and you can set them up. Nobody needs to do any math. If you've made a character in Dungeons & Dragons, it's probably harder than this. The next thing we're going to do is choose a special ability. Now, if you've got that form fillable playlist or playbook, this will be a lot easier because the form fillable playbook will allow you essentially to look over it and pick one and see what you want to choose. Now, some of the form fillable options have 2 levels to them. So if you're looking at the Hound sheet, it's got Ghost Hunter as 2. Whatever one you pick, you just pick the first level to it. And so you can read these special abilities and see what they do and what they allow you to do. These are basically some special talents that you have. And if you don't know which one you want, the first one on the list is probably a pretty safe bet. So, yeah. And if you guys have any questions as you're reading these, I'm happy to answer.
I went with sharpshooter.
Sounds good.
I think I'm going to go saboteur.
Also an excellent choice.
Ghost Mind.
I'm
for
going to
me.
go with.
Sorry,
I'm going to go with Scout.
Okay. I'm just having a look here. Scout was from which playbook again?
Hound.
Right. I'm just trying to remember what everyone is. Excellent. All right. So now that we've got all of that, we can sort of go on to the next section of this, which is you're going to look at your sheet, and you've got there's clever friends at the bottom left. And you're going to choose one person from this list who is a close friend, so somebody you can call upon to to gain advantages. And one of those people is going to be a rival, somebody who's causing you trouble. So the one that you pick as a friend, you will mark with an up arrow. And the one that you pick as a rival, you will mark as a down arrow. And I should probably know who these people are for each of you, because but what I'll probably ask you to do is once your sheet is done, save it and then upload a copy just so I can have a look at them, like send them to me via Discord DM. That way I can have a look at everyone's sheet and use things for and against you, because this is definitely a for and against section. So let me know once everyone has sort of decided on that one.
I'm good.
I'm done.
I am not, because my screen has frozen.
Oh, hopefully not causing you too much trouble here.
Okay, so you said bottom left corner of the first page, correct?
Yep, it's got the Deadly Friends section there.
I might say something different on each one because mine is Strange Friends.
Ah, okay. So yeah, Hound says
Mine
Deadly
says-
Friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
Leech says Clever Friends. So,
Do we just arbitrarily put in a name?
well, they've got names there, or you can choose sort of to create somebody. Although at this point, everybody's kind of new, so it's probably best to go with one of the ones that's there. But you'll pick one who's a close friend and mark them with an up arrow, and one who is a rival, and for them you'll pick a downward pointing arrow.
Okay, I see.
So basically, you get one friend and one enemy out of this.
Awesome.
Yep, right from character generation, you're
Okay.
already sort of connected to the world in a fashion. Even as we're still trying to learn what the world is, because we're all very new.
Well, it makes sense. All right, so I've got mine.
All right. And so once everyone's done, the next step is to choose a vice. And vices are basically the things you are kind of addicted to. And they're the things that you use to clear your stress. Because your character is going to get stress over the course of the game. And so these are the ways you try to clear it. And so the options here: faith, so being dedicated to an unseen power, a forgotten god, an ancestor, etc. Gambling, so you crave games of chance, betting on sporting events, etc. Luxury, expensive or ostentatious displays of opulence. Obligation is you are devoted to a family, a cause, an organization, a charity, etc. Pleasure is gratification from lovers, food, drink, drugs, art, theater, etc. Stupor is you seek oblivion in the abuse of drugs, drinking to excess, getting beaten to a pulp in the fighting rings, etc. Weird is you experiment with strange essences, consort with rogue spirits, observe bizarre rituals or taboos, etc. So, lots of options here, from the very banal to the just straight up weird, and they call it weird because of that. So, basically, this is kind of how your character blows off steam, although it's also something that will be sort of important to your character. And at some point, if you develop traumas and you get those by racking up too much stress, then your character at that point starts to become in need of exercising their vices. So keep that in mind. Sort of satisfying your vices is normally something that you would do in a like a downtime activity. So between scores, your character might go and satisfy their vices in some fashion.
Oh, weird.
So everybody just kind of think of that. Weird is a good choice.
I also went with weird.
And you also get a choice of vice purveyors. So somebody provides you with the stuff you use for, whatever it is you do. And so some sort of, and these are just like sample options. You can make up something else. So for weird, they've got as options the hooded proprietor of the half-flooded grotto tavern near the docks. Strange passageways lead to stranger chambers beyond. Father Yorin, House of the Weeping Lady in Six Towers. Salia, a spirit of the reconciled, which moves from body to body at their whim. Sister Thorn, Deathland's scavenger gang of Gaddock Station. Ojak, Taikarosi rooftop market vendor of Silkshore. And Arana the Blessed, cultist of a forgotten god, who's on a barge moored in night market. And once everyone sort of puts some thought into their vice, after that, it's just a matter of picking a name, an alias. If your character goes by an alias or nickname, they don't have to, but they might, and what they look like. And so, just kind of a brief description of what your person, what's recognizable about them. How would you recognize their look?
And page 2 of the player kit has examples.
Yes, and that's fantastic because so descriptions of clothing, descriptions of build, that kind of thing, which is really helpful when you're sort of new to games and you're trying to figure out how your character would look.
Since I didn't catch any of those vice purveyors, can I just make up a name in general location?
Yep, absolutely. And then once that's done, basically you're done with character creation, which is lovely. And then we have to move on to something that we're going to have to do, but nobody else will, which is generating the crew. So let me know when everyone's ready to go. People still pondering?
Still working on it.
Yep, all good. We're not in a super hurry. The goal for today, if we can, and if not, we can, book another time and do this again, is to get through character creation and crew creation, and then hopefully run a quick score. So that's sort of what we're trying to do today, is get through all of that fun stuff. But we also want to, play and get to some mischief too, because mischief. We don't just want to do character creation, because then we leave you with like, hey, we've created characters that you might want to play, and now you're like, when are we going to do that? Hopefully when we're going to do that is now. And I hear Zora in the other room, who is very annoyed because her bowl is empty. And the reason why her bowl is empty is because she already ate all the food. She's just upset that it doesn't magically refill. And the vet always says she's at the perfect weight, but she thinks that that's not the case. She would like to have another dinner, please.
Preferably heavy on the hot sauce.
She does actually like hot sauce. It's weird.
She's your
Yeah,
dog. She's not weird. She's your dog.
Yeah, well, she's sitting there begging for something, and I'm like, you don't want this. It's got hot sauce on it. And she's like, I totally do, though. Please. So I was like, all right, this might be a self-curing problem. Because, the hot sauces I use don't really mess around. But she's like, no, I really, really want it. So I was like, all right, here we go. And she tried it, and she makes this face of like, I don't know what this is. And then she's like, but I want more of it, please. Like, oh, dog. She's initially like, whoa, what is that? What are you doing to me?
Yeah,
But
it
it's
sounds
tasty,
like
though.
Snuggles.
She had the I can see through time face.
Okay, so on the right-hand side bottom corner, it says equipment
Yeah.
and stuff. Does this stuff automatically come with? Okay.
We'll worry about that. I'll explain that in just a little bit here. Because
Okay, jumping ahead.
Blades in the
Sorry
Dark
about that.
handles equipment and... Oh, no worries. Blades in the Dark handles equipment and gear in kind of a cinematic way, which is different than just about every other game. And kind of different than what you might expect. You've got Schrodinger's gear instead of having a set amount of gear. And I'll explain what I mean about that.
Okay, so we're supposed to pick names and stuff now.
Yep.
Crew. Okay.
Your character probably has a name that they go by. That's the usual thing to do.
Hmm. Do we have to pick one that's provided?
No, you can make one up.
Awesome.
Yeah, the things that are sort of listed as possibilities in the thing are just there as options, right? They're there if you've got no ideas and you're just like, I just want to pick something off a list. Why are you making me make up a name? You know, why are you being mean to me by making me do this? Then it's like, well, you got a list right there. You can use that. So that's what that's for. Hopefully I'm not being too mean.
No, you're fine.
Often the name is the hardest part of character creation. And just kind of thinking about what your character looks like.
I'm having trouble with the alias.
That's the part I'm having trouble with.
You don't need an alias. But I mean, it might be helpful. If in doubt, you can always go with Batman. Maybe only one of you should go with Batman, though. It'll get weird.
I was going
if
to say,
you
we're
go
not
with Batman.
talking about this. What if we all four pick the exact same alias?
You laugh, but I have actually seen two people show up with the same alias that they picked off the list.
Oh, I can totally see that.
Yeah, two people. So I was playing and this is the first time I've DM'd, but there were two people who were. We all sort of made our characters separately, and we brought them to the first session. And because we were people who had experience with it, and so forth. And two people, both cutters, showed up with characters whose alias was Bricks.
Bricks.
So I assume their knives were very dull. Or they were very bad at ordering food.
Well played. They were both not super clever, was part of their conceit of their characters. And I'm just like, okay. Meanwhile, I was also playing a cutter, so we had 3 cutters at the table. Our missions were very violent.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a party for Ghostblade.
Yeah, we got in a lot of trouble. We generated so much heat, and heat is a measurement of like how pissed off the guards are at you. Because the guards are fundamentally lazy, but if you do enough stuff, they will eventually sort of have to take an interest in you and your gang.
So they're like cops.
Yeah, pretty much. But they, for instance, if you're not doing anything super blatant, but if you're getting into like a fight between 2 gangs, they might sit back and wait to see who wins before they go in. So, yeah, they're kind of interesting in that regard. Well, while people ponder that one, we can start to look at crew creation as well. And crew is basically your gang, right? And so it's going to include you, but it's also going to include other players who come in after you. They will all be part of the same crew. So some of the decisions you guys make will affect them. So just be aware of that, but it means we get to pick things and they just have to live with it. Rack, absolutely, we can take a break. I can show off this thing, which I just finished making.
It looks good.
I now have a small collection of pouches, but I like this one best because the oxblood color is really kind of cool.
You're getting pretty fast at those.
Well, I mean, this took me most of the day, so the sewing is a bit of a pain.
Week. So.
Well, it's easier when you've got the thing to cut them out, like the cutting die. But I've got a few of them made now, and let me adjust my camera. My camera's decided to be fuzzy.
And I just lost my entire character sheet.
Well, the good news is it'll probably be quicker to recreate than it was to create the first time.
Yeah.
The bad news is that you still have to, do the actual recreation.
I mean, at least we have time.
That is true. We got lots of time. We're not in a hurry. This one is semi-finished. I need to do the edging. Also semi-finished. I still don't know what I'm doing with them.
Can be one of those things that you send out to Patreon or members or whatever.
Yeah, although it'll be if I have to send out a bunch of them like every month, that's going to be a lot of work.
I mean, don't commit to it on a tier or anything, but you said you were thinking about sending out stuff like once a year or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Random side note, but I really like the font that autofills in this form.
Huh. Don't know what that font is. I kind of like the font that the form text is in.
I'll be back.
So, how was everyone's weekends?
I got nothing done that I needed to.
Yeah, nothing done that I needed to, including sleep.
I mean, how is that any different from a normal weekend for you, though?
Or a weekday for that matter.
Yeah.
So the worst part is, like last night, I went to bed and I'm like, I'm gonna get a straight 8 hours of sleep. It's gonna be glorious. And then, like 2 hours later, I'm rolling over, feeling like it's morning, looking at my clock and going, "What? Why?"
Yeah, between nerves and me doing something stupid and drinking like a massive cup of coffee, like 8 o'clock at night, I didn't fall asleep until after 4, and I have to be up at 7:30 to get to work.
I just what is it? I drink caffeine so often before I go to bed because it helps me sleep.
Sometimes it does when I'm really overtired, but other times if I've had like a good night of sleep already, then it just keeps me awake because then my brain's like, no, we have the happy chemicals. Why are we sleeping?
And you're like, the happy chemicals are the best thing.
By the way, I forgot to put a note in with your present/bribe. Let me know how you like those books. I think you'll like them, but I mean, I don't have a lot of information to go off of, so.
I will have to check. And one thing that sometimes happens is I get things in the mail that are sometimes like they range from like, whatever to really awesome with like no details as to where they're from.
Yeah.
Tandy is apparently the worst for this because people will order like a Tandy gift card for this has happened twice, and they've asked
with
for a
me.
note. They've asked for a note to be included, and it just arrives, and it's like, this is really cool, and I don't know who to thank for it. So, well, and then there were two. Hopefully, people haven't abandoned us as at this point, but we shall see. Nine Inch Nails gal noted she's got a sort of a life thing that's come up, so hopefully that'll pass. But
And Dragon's Angels typing in the Discord chat. Oh, Dragon's Angel just got the blue screen of death.
That's no fun. Yeah, Rob sent me a goat.
Apparently, they just keep showing up for him. He keeps sending them out to other people, and he still has like 6. At least his post office finally ponied up his packages.
Yeah, he said that for a bit there, they were telling him he's got a package, and every time he goes in, they're like, nope, nothing for you. And then he sent me a picture of like the back of his car just full of packages.
Yeah, I got like secondary delivery notifications for a couple things that I had sent him, including the hot sauce lineup, and it's like, did they actually finally give you packages or what's going on? He's like, yeah, they called me and told me I had like 16 packages waiting that I needed to come pick up, even though I've been there nearly every day for the last month asking for them. But we get both of you doing the Hot Ones lineup for your birthday, which is this weekend, right? Saturday?
Yep. I might die.
Apparently, he's already eaten up to the second hottest one, so...
Yeah, I might still die. I got to make wings, and so I'm going to have to go pick those up.
Sitting here fighting
right.
the urge to just like keep filling in my background.
That's not necessarily a bad urge to run with.
Well, but there is kind of limited space on the form, and I figure keeping it vague for the moment is probably better.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine for right now. You don't need an elaborate backstory at this stage. It's just, yeah.
My problem is I'm used to writing fiction where I need to have all of the backstory.
Yep, that. I mean, fiction, you can kind of make it up as you go along, but you should have some knowledge of where you're going. And you also need to very much have some... you need to keep notes of what you make up as you go along.
Yep.
Because your eventual readers may be obsessive about that and may ask you questions like, hey, didn't you say this? And now how come it's that? You're like, well, because I'm dumb. So.
Yeah, I'm bad at tracking stuff like that. Like I'll remember that I did something similar or that I said something about that, and then I have to go back and read like 6 chapters back because I couldn't remember exactly what I decided on.
Yeah, that's always fun.
That and NPC names. Bad at tracking
so
those.
many names.
That's why you just introduce like a mechanic to as a cop out. You know, if anyone notices an inconsistency, it's oh no, it's an alternate timeline. It's all fine. That was a different timeline you were thinking of.
Well, no, the first one was the store owner, and this one was the store clerk.
Nothing saying they can't be the owner and the clerk.
But if you have an issue of there being 2 different names and people asking questions, there's excuses to be made.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, dual identity
Hey.
aliases.
All right, so hopefully Dragon's Angel's on their way back. We'll just... But let's sort of get started talking about creating a crew. So the first thing is crew type. And I'm just going to go ahead and say we'll run with shadows because I basically put a question about this in my who's interested thing. And so the crew type is basically what does your crew do most often? And so I'll talk about the other options that we're not going for, but on as well as the one we do, but this is kind of the core activity. So the options in the book are assassins, which is pretty much straight self-explanatory. Bravos, who are mercenaries and thugs. Cult, which is acolytes of a forgotten god. You do all sorts of weird mystical stuff. Hawkers, which are people who are vice dealers. They sell whatever it is they sell. Shadows, which is what we're going to run with, is thieves and spies. They do burglaries, espionage, robberies, and sabotage. and smugglers, who are contraband transporters, who execute clandestine deliveries, territory control, and expeditions outside the city. So all sorts of options here, but so what we're sort of going to focus on as a crew is sort of the burglaries, espionage, robberies, and sabotage, because basically we ran a vote, or I ran a vote, and lots of people, more people wanted that as sort of their focus than anything else. Actually wasn't even close. So initial reputation as a group. So you guys are going to get to pick the reputation of the group. Like, what are you sort of, what do people know you as? Now, you also start off with 0 reputation. And so starting off with 0 reputation means you're not well known for this, but it's what you'd like to be known as, I guess. And so some options, although these are not limited, is ambitious, brutal, daring, honorable, professional, savvy, subtle, or strange.
I vote strange.
I can go with that.
Third vote for strange.
All right. A group of strange thieves. Next, we're going to have to decide, where does the crew make its lair? So options here at, and again, you guys are at tier 0. So we're talking about, you're starting with a fairly modest lair. And by modest, I mean kind of bad, kind of shabby. So some options here: a half-sunken grotto in the city's maze-like underground canals, an abandoned watchtower atop an ancient crumbling wall, the unassuming back rooms of a merchant's shop, a small abandoned house at the end of a dark lane, a rickety tin-roofed shack perched on a rooftop, or a junked rail car rusted in place on its old overgrown tracks. So, any thoughts as to that? And you guys could make up your own, but it might be sort of similar to that.
I mean, as far as strange, I feel like the train car would probably fit strange best.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing.
And the train car also doesn't sound like it can fall apart anytime and kill us all.
I mean, maybe. I don't think any of
Unless
these
we
things are really
piss
gonna.
someone off.
Yeah, I don't think anything's really gonna, fall apart unless something bad happens. And so our next stop is, we've got a map, and I'm just trying to find that in our. So the map is on page 22. And so that sort of lets us decide where, like, which district are we going to locate this. Crow's Foot is a good option. Night Market might be a decent option, because that's also, there's a train station there, so it might be located like as a former offshoot. I can find the list of like what these areas are like. Oh wait, the districts
It's on
are
page
described
22.
on yes, on page 22. Very convenient. Looks like Dragon's Angel is having some substantial computer problems, so we'll proceed sort of as we can here.
Given the rail car, I am thinking Night Market makes the most sense.
Night Market or Coleridge.
And I'm thinking, I mean, there were likely rail routes throughout town at various points. It's just a lot of them have kind of fallen into decay.
I think I like Coleridge because it has all of the old mining settlements and stuff, and it's close enough to Night Market that we can huck our goods there that we've stolen and then retreat far enough away that it's not like, hey, you guys were in this neighborhood a lot selling stuff.
You don't want to fence where you eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, fencing where we're hiding doesn't sound like the best idea.
I am an academic. I am not that dumb. Anyone else have thoughts?
No, that sounds good.
All right. So located in
Coleridge.
Coleridge. And the next thing to pick is you guys need some hunting grounds. And so basically this is going to be where you usually target your scores. This doesn't have to be in the same district as your lair. You can pick another district. But you're starting off with one that's pretty small. It's 3 or 4 blocks.
Well, we probably shouldn't be striking where our hideout is. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Could we go on the other side of the night market? So we go out, get all of our stuff, come back to night market, sell it, and then go home to our lair.
I mean, from these descriptions, it looks like the only place that's going to have like a ton of targets in it is Char Hollow.
Everywhere is going to have targets. Crow's Foot is a cramped neighborhood of multi-level streets ruled by gangs. So it's, the docks has taverns, it's got ships, it's got fighting pits, it's got warehouses. All of those things are probably robbable at various points. Silk Shore is artists and the Red Lamp District. That's an interesting way of putting it. Again, there's going to be things to steal there. There's going to be things to steal everywhere, right? Because everywhere is going to have... Now, the wrinkle on all of this is that right at the beginning, you guys are going to have to decide what your... how you're going to react to... You're basically having to steal this location from somebody, or at least be interlopers on somebody else's territory right from the outset, because everything is owned by somebody.
If we want to aim big, we could go for Brightstone and the rich people. Might be a bit too ambitious.
I was going to say the downside of Brightstone is that it's also going to be where there's a ton
Security.
of security.
Yeah.
And I can note that there are some modifiers, so I'll just sort of let you know on modifiers of things. Barrow Cleft, which I think is on there somewhere. Yep. One of the best marketplaces in the city, but criminal types draw lots of unwanted attention. You can take +1 dice to acquire an asset here, but also accrue +2 heat. Brightstone, most engagement rolls, which is the roll you make to see how you're starting off on a score, suffer -1 die due to heavy blue coat patrols. Operations against the nobility in Brightstone are considered on hostile turf for the purpose of generating heat. And heat is how much trouble you're in. And notably, part of this setting, if you look at the map of Duskfall, you can see that sort of perimeter of stars around it. And that is a lightning wall that is there to keep out the mass of howling ghosts that are outside of the lightning wall. Stepping outside of that requires 2 things. First, the lightning wall itself will fry you if you try to walk through it. Second, outside of that is tons and tons of horrible, undead things that might eat you. So maybe not ideal in that regard. So just be aware of that. Char Hollow. Operations against the citizenry in Char Hollow are considered on hostile turf for the purpose of generating heat. It is the sort of labor force and so forth, and they look out for each other. Charter Hall. The records in Charter Hall can be of particular interest to criminal sorts. Take a devil's bargain to gather info here in exchange for 1 heat, because the bluecoats are always watching for scoundrels there. Coleridge, because the factories of Coleridge operate around the clock, there's no ideal time for clandestine crime here. But foremen are happy to be bribed to take a break or look the other way. Crow's Foot. Years of murder have made this the most haunted district. Angry ghosts crave bloodshed here. You may take a devil's bargain for +1 dice for violent action, but the ghost will lash out too. So, the docks. Operations against ships at port are considered on hostile turf for the purpose of generating heat, because they are well watched by that. Dunslow, which is sort of the ghetto area, is and also where Iron Hook Prison is, has no special traits or modifiers there. Night Market. You have +1 die to acquire an asset here at the cost of 2 stress, because while it is full of illicit and arcane goods, it's also full of strange horrors. Silkshore. Should you overindulge your vice while in Silkshore, you'll get a taste for it. Add 1 die to your roll the next time you indulge your vice here. Silkshore is the best place for indulging vices, but can be dangerous. 6 Towers. The many empty buildings and abandoned property makes this district a perfect location for a hidden scoundrel's lair. White Crown. Most engagement rolls suffer -2 dice due to heavy bluecoat patrols. Operations against the nobility in White Crown are considered on hostile turf for the purposes of generating heat. So White Crown is super super patrolled.
Given that we are a weird gang, the haunted ghost place might fit our MO.
Yeah.
So a spot in Night Market.
The one that was haunted by all the murders. Which one?
Crow's Foot, I think.
Oh, Crow's
Yeah.
Foot. Yep. Also perfectly viable.
I like the sound of crow's foot.
Don't tell Squirrel.
Why?
It's only the foot of the crow. Where'd the rest go?
Mm,
Then I know.
Charter Hall? I don't know. So there's a few sort of options here as to sort of so you guys are going to need to have sort of taken some territory, and I think from somebody. And so good options on that one for people you might have taken it from include the Red Sashes, who were originally a school of ancient Aruvian sword arts, so originally martial artists who have since expanded into criminal endeavors. They're at war with the Lamp Blacks, and the Lamp Blacks were a former lamplighter guild turned to crime when their services were replaced by electric lights. And the Crows, who are also in control of Crow, or who also are occupying Crow's Foot, they claim all of Crow's Foot as their turf, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they control all of it. But yeah, they're also sort of a peak choice of people whose turf you might be stepping on. Now, your options at the start for how to deal with this. You guys start with 2 coin in your coffers. You can pay off the crows and give them 1 coin in exchange for them giving you room to work. So basically, you've paid them off for a bit. They'll let you operate. You can pay them 2 coin as a show of respect and get +1 status with them. So at that point, they are happier with you. That's the second option. Or you can just keep your money and take -1 status with the faction because they don't like that you're operating on their turf without paying them anything. So which do you guys think you guys would prefer to do?
I would think 1 coin or no coins. I don't think it makes sense to throw all our money into this at this point.
Yeah, I'd say if we're set on seeing this strange thread through, then probably no coin.
Yeah.
I'm no coin as well.
That sounds like we're at no coin. All right, so you probably will have ticked off the crows at that point. All right, so the next step in this is that we are going to what is it? We're going to choose a special ability from our crew and pick one. And I don't know if that's in the book here or not.
Yes, it is. Page 17. Foreshadows.
Yep.
17.
So we're going to start off by picking a special power here, or special ability. So options: everyone steals, which gets you +1 action rating to prowl, finesse, or tinker, up to a max rating of 3. Ghost echoes, which might be the choice if you guys are weird, because I mean that sounds weird. That gives you the ability to see and interact with the ghostly structures, streets, and objects within the Echo of Dusk wall that exists in the ghost field. Pack rats. Your lair is a jumble of stolen items. When you roll to acquire an asset, take or get +1 dice. So lots of spare junk. Patrons, when you advance your tier, it costs half the coin it normally would. So if you want to build up your influence. Second story, when you execute a clandestine infiltration, you get +1 die to the engagement roll. Slippery, when you roll entanglements, roll twice and keep the one you want. When you reduce heat on the crew, roll +1 die. So entanglements are things that could cause you trouble during your downtime. And basically the cycle of the game is you do a score, you have some downtime. And both of those are sort of part of the game there. And synchronized, when you perform a group action, you may count multiple 6s from different rolls as a critical success, which makes you a lot more likely to critically succeed. What are you guys thinking?
I think Ghost Echoes for the group, it wouldn't really affect me much because I picked Ghost Mind for my special ability. Or Slippery would probably be good since we're already in disfavor with the local controlling gang.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think slippery too.
All right, sounds like we're going with Slippery then. All right. Next is a crew upgrade. And you guys get 2 pre-selected upgrades, which you just have. So your pre-selected upgrades are training in prowess and a hidden lair. So, and I'll just look at what those encompass. So training, if you have a training upgrade, you earn 2 XP instead of 1 when you train a given track during downtime. And in this case, that would be prowess. So it helps you advance more quickly. And hidden lair means that your lair has a secret location and is disguised to hide it from view. If your lair is discovered, use 2 downtime activities and pay coin equal to your tier to relocate it and hide it once again. So I'm guessing that this rail car might be a little more non-obvious than most. Might be hidden in a tunnel like that weird episode from Thomas the Tank Engine. Lindsay knows what I'm talking about. All right.
Are we talking about Thomas and the Magical Railroad?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm just looking at the upgrades. So you get 2 additional upgrades, and you get to choose those between the crew upgrades and the special upgrades. Now, I don't think either of those is listed on your... or it looks like they're listed, but not described. So I'll sort of describe some options here. So Shadows upgrades... Thief rigging, you gain 2 free load worth of tool or gear items. And so what load refers to is you don't decide what gear you have until you're actually midway through a score. And so if you look at your character sheet there, you can see that you'll pick either like load 3, 5, or 6 plus. And so what that means is that you decide how much stuff you're carrying at the outset, but you don't decide what that stuff is. And so your load is basically, if you have light load, you can pass for just anybody doing it, whatever. If you have no load, you're obviously not going to get in trouble if you're, searched or whatever else. But like light load, you don't raise any alarm bells with anybody, right? You just look fairly innocuous. Medium load, you're going to look, if you're given an inspection or anything like that, somebody looks you over, they're going to notice that you're up to no good. Heavy load is you are obviously there causing trouble. So think of heavy load as if you like showed up at the mall wearing like a bulletproof vest, tactical gear, magazines, and a rifle over your back, right? Everyone's going to freak out and is like, what are these guys doing? Now, it's Duskfall, so, I mean, people aren't immediately calling the cops, but they're also, like, if you walk up to a shop like this, they're going to be like, this is trouble. So you are obvious to anybody up to no good. Thief rigging lets you carry 2 more load worth of stuff without having to go up another level. As mentioned, you don't decide what that stuff is until you use it in a scene. So, for example, I'm looking at, if I look at the Hound playbook, one of the special items that a Hound might have is a fine pair of pistols. And so you don't need to decide you're carrying your guns ahead of time. It's just when you need them, like when you actually want to pull the pistols out and shoot somebody, is when you tick that off. Now, some things take multiple bits of load. So a large weapon, like for the Hound, a fine long rifle, takes 2 boxes because it's bulky, right? So it's a little more gear. Next is underground maps and passkeys, which gives you easy passage through the underground canals, tunnels, and basements of the city. Elite Rooks, all of your cohorts with the Rooks type gain a +1 dice to quality rolls for Rook-related actions. There's also Elite Skulks, which is the same thing for Skulks type. Steady, each PC gets a +1 stress box. This costs 3 upgrades to unlock, not just 1, so that's expensive, and I think outside of our range right now. Covert Drop, you get +2 coin and payoff for scores that involve espionage or sabotage. You get paid a little bit more. Drug Den. Anytime during your downtime, roll dice equal to your tier. you earn coin equal to the highest result minus your heat. So you might have a drug den that's helping pay you off. Or sorry, those are claims rather than upgrades. So that's not available. My apologies. Neither is the covert drop. Just the rigging, underground maps, elite rooks, elite skulks, and steady. Other things that are just generic upgrades. Boathouse. You have a boat, a dock on a waterway, and a small shack to store boating supplies. A second upgrade improves the boat with armor and more cargo capacity. There's also an option for a carriage house. You have a carriage, 2 goats to pull it, and a stable. A second upgrade improves the carriage with armor and larger, swifter goats. So horses are very rare in Duskfall. Most carriages use goats. Cohort. A cohort is a gang or a single expert NPC who works for your crew. Hidden Lair. Your lair has a secret location and is disguised to hide it from view. You already have that one, sorry. Mastery. Your crew has access to master level training. You may advance your PC's action ratings to 4. Until you unlock this upgrade, PC action ratings are capped at 3. This costs 4 upgrade boxes to unlock, so not happening right now. Quality. Each upgrade increases the quality rating of all the PC's items of that type, beyond the quality established by the crew's tier and fine items. You can improve the quality of documents, gear, arcane implements, subterfuge supplies, tools, and weapons. Each of those is separate. Quarters. Your lair includes living quarters for the crew. Without this upgrade, each PC sleeps elsewhere and is vulnerable when they do so. Secure lair. Your lair has locks, alarms, and traps to thwart intruders. A second upgrade improves the defenses to include arcane measures that work against spirits. You might roll your crew's tier if these measures are ever put to the test to see how well they thwart an intruder. Training, we mentioned, but you could take training in a different category as well. Vault. Your lair has a secure vault, increasing your storage capacity for coin to 8. A second upgrade increases your capacity to 16. A separate part of your vault can be used as a holding cell. So it also gives you a little jail cell if you happen to have somebody you want. And workshop. Your lair has a workshop appointed with tools for tinkering and alchemy, as well as a small library of books, documents, and maps. You may accomplish long-term projects with these assets without leaving your lair. So, you guys have 2 upgrades to choose from.
Do we have to pick from the ones that are just on the Shadows sheet, or can we pick from any of them?
There's some that are special for Shadows.
Okay.
I think the Shadows sheet lists
Yeah.
both the things that are specific to you as well as the general ones.
It doesn't have the general ones. That's why I was asking, because it's scrolling between page 12 and page 17 to look at all of them.
Yeah, page 17 has like carriage, boat, hidden quarters.
It's there. It's smaller. So the specific ones are in the gray box, and then just to the right of them, they're kind of abbreviated, but they're there.
Sorry, I meant the descriptions on page 12.
Oh, the descriptions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'm just checking to see if it's got the specifics of... it doesn't seem to have stuff like the... what is it? The thief rigging and underground maps and passkeys.
That's in the gray box.
But not the description.
Oh, right. Well, the descriptions, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it does. Yep. So, yeah. So the crew upgrades and the lair quality cohorts, etc., are all options.
So I guess we should pick if we want to go with just the ones specific to Shadows, or like one of each category.
Yeah. The ones that stand out to me that I like, the thief rigging seems like it'd be useful, and the underground maps passkeys and the workshop are all ones that stand out that would be potentially useful.
Yeah. And think the other one that I was looking at there would be the quarters, because it does reduce our personal vulnerability as we're sleeping / having
Yeah.
downtime.
And I mean, who doesn't want to sleep in an old weird train?
We are strange.
So, what do we think about thief rigging and quarters?
That could work. I plan to travel pretty light, so having 2 extra slots in my pockets would be nice.
I think those 2 extra slots would be rather handy too.
Okay, so thief rigging 1. And was between quarters and workshop. So I guess for those 2, is anyone planning on doing a lot of tinkering with alchemy and study and stuff? I mean, I'm very study focused, but if
I have
I'm going to be the only one using it, it would be pointless.
I have some study and also tinker.
And I think he's a leech, so
Yeah.
alchemy is going to be his kind of way of solving a lot of problems. But you're looking at 3 different things, and you've got to pick 2.
Yeah, that's why we're trying to narrow down between workshop and quarters. I guess workshop would probably be the more useful option at this point. Do we get more upgrades later as we advance?
Yep, that's
Okay.
so
We can always
you're going to
play
go on
quarters
scores,
later.
and then later you're also going to go and do things like, hey, we're going to, in downtime, you can try to upgrade and expand your turf and so forth. Because initially you've got very little, and everything you've got is kind of on loan. So, yeah.
Okay, so I vote thief rigging and workshop.
Yeah, works for me.
Same, because
All
we're really
right.
going to need that workshop.
And so next, you're going to pick a contact off that list.
I'm thinking a blue coat or the tavern owner would be potentially good sources of info.
Well, we have 2 hounds already do it, and they're the detective types anyway, right? So we're probably all fairly solid on collecting intel.
True.
So I would say probably either the tavern owner or the deal broker, because we're going to need someone to sell our stuff to.
Wouldn't the hounds need someone to get information from, though?
I mean, I guess I don't know how the mechanics with that would work.
All of these are people you could potentially, in some fashion, use as a in a scene, if it comes up in some fashion.
Tavern owner? Someone very general who everyone will talk to?
Well,
Yeah,
that would lead us to a deal broker too. So we'd kind of get a 2-for-1 deal if we went with the tavern owner, because they know everyone and everything.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. They kind of know everyone, so they can hear things and or get us in contact with people.
Sounds good to me.
All right, now, so the tavern owner is going to give you a +1 to your reputation with the Lampblacks, which is the former Lamplighters Guild, and a -1 to your reputation with the Red Sashes. So, because he's sort of associated with the Lampblacks, there is some animosity that comes with that from the Red Sashes. So just, you know.
Well, that +1 is probably good because I think the place we picked was like run by the Lampblacks, were they?
So right now, the crows sort of have the primary control over Crow's Foot, which is where you guys do most of your criming.
But our lair.
Your lair is elsewhere.
Yeah,
so,
but I thought they had something to do with that.
They are located. I think the Lampblacks are. They operate. Yeah, they operate in Crow's Foot. The Lampblacks are going to have a bit more reach into Coleridge. Meanwhile, the Red Sashes are not as happy with them because they're at war. Red Sashes and the Lampblacks are fighting a turf war, and they're both pretty far into it at this point.
Okay.
So at this stage, both of them are kind of in the you're either with us or against us kind of mindset. And so this kind of pushes towards one side of which you might be with. Now, neither of them are nice people because this isn't really a world full of nice people. This is a world full of all sorts of troublesome individuals is really the, sort of what we're looking at there. So just be aware of that. And I think that's all we need for our gang there. So, and that's about it. Now, if you guys choose, you can intensify the dislike and the liking, which gets you either. So normally it's a +1 and -1. You guys can choose to up that to a +2 and -2. Now, keep in mind, -3 is all-out war with another faction. So it's a question of whether you want to be really disliked or a little disliked.
I'd say we should probably start out a little disliked.
I was going to say, we're already kind of ticked off the other guys. I don't think we need 2 big enemies just when we're starting out.
Yeah, 2 big enemies sounds like something further down the line for us.
There's all sorts of possibilities there. All right. Now, I'm going to check in to see if our missing person is going to be able to get their computer up and running. Because... your computer might be down for the day. I don't know. We'll just wait a couple of moments for an answer, and then we will potentially dive into an adventure. Now, I will show you guys what exactly I have prepared, because this is, whoops. That's interesting how that just goes away if you alt tab out. All right, let me just pull up my screen here to show you my preparations for this. Basically, Blades is a game kind of winging it and improvisation a lot of the time. Because a lot of the time you guys are going to be choosing sort of what we're up to. Now, I'm not hearing back from Dragon's Angel. I think her computer might be done and dead, or it might be she decided that this wasn't her thing. Either of those is just fine, but we'll just have to see. Just waiting to see if she's got a response there. And so we'll just wait a moment here, and then we'll potentially dive right in with an adventure here. I'm not hearing anything. So, and Lindsay, are you still with us?
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to find a different sweater that isn't going to screw up my white balance.
Oh, no worries. Just
All right, I shall just be cold.
you like me, and most of your fashion is kind of on the darker side.
Well, it has a lot of like blue and stuff in it, which seems to be what's screwing up my camera.
Ah, now on mine, I can like switch that auto balancing off.
Well, I have it's my built-in webcam, and I can't find where the settings for it are.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's not ideal. All right. So if we've got everybody here, we can just sort of launch in on an opportunity. Dragon's Angel says she's not sure. It's trying to start up. Just waiting to see if they say go ahead or if we should continue waiting. All right, I'm not seeing an answer here, so we'll forge ahead, and if necessary, we can add another person. So right now, I don't have an overarching plot, so we'll just run sort of a sort of the we can sort of do a decent starting out thing. So as mentioned in the Crow's Foot district there, we've got some chaos going on. And Crow's Foot used to be operated pretty much exclusively by the Crows. And the leader of that, who sort of brokered both peace and their entire dominance of that, was the ward boss, Rurik. And he has been killed. People say, although there's no solid proof, that it was his second in command who did it, Lissa. However, she now runs the show. So if she's the one who did it, then she's pulled things off impressively. But we'll have to see if she can still hold on to it. In the meantime, two smaller groups that she had, or two other groups that she had sort of that he had brokered peace between and gotten them to sort of both cooperate, and both were paying tribute to the Crows, that being the Lamp Blacks and the Red Sashes, have gone into full-on open war. So they are they're absolutely at this point in turmoil. So your crew is a kind of upstart group, and you can maybe profit it. Maybe you can get into lots of trouble. We'll have to see. So we'll sort of start this off in a meeting here. So you're in the cramped office of the Lamp Black's leader, Bazo Baz, overlooking the coal warehouse floor below. Several of his thugs hang about, armed for war, sizing you up. Bazo wants your answer. Are you with them or against them? What do you say? Will you side with the Lamp Blacks, or will you just pretend to? Good luck. Bazo is very sharp. Or will you tell him to fuck off? Or are you actually here for the Red Sashes, or to kill him for the Red Sashes? If so, you might want to do a flashback and pick a plan for the assassination. So we're sort of dropping you into the middle of things. That's kind of how this game works, is drop you into trouble. So this is sort of where we're going to start. And I guess we should also start by having you each introduce yourself. Give us your sort of character names and what you look like and what sort of we'd know about this.
Did you want us to send you our character sheets?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yeah, if you can just DM me a copy. I've got one. got 2.
Nearly.
Although this
Waiting
one
for mine
came
to
in
save.
blank.
Yeah.
You got to save it and then
I had to print
send
mine
me
to
it with-
PDF.
looks like Dragon's Angel is out for the night.
Document. Oops.
There we go. Now it looks like it's got some actual information in it, which is good. How do I rotate this?
Control Shift plus.
There we go. I was like, this is entirely too sideways for me.
Sorry, I had to print it to PDF to save it.
All right, so sort of each of us should introduce a character to the group. Oh. And so sort of your name or alias, playbook, look, heritage, background, and special ability. Just so everyone kind of knows what everyone is like.
I guess I'll go.
Go ahead.
Orland Templeton. I put myself as a description with twitchy and a tricorn hat, just because I thought that was funny, and all black eyes. I have a background in academia, but I was fired when they caught me after hours, kind of using the lab to make and sell drugs and explosives to pay off some of my gambling debts.
That does indeed tend to get you fired.
Yeah. And that's yeah, and my special ability is Saboteur.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. And I'm a leech. I should.
I'm firing that into Midjourney. Lindsay, I guess you're up next.
I am Lizette Strangford, but I would prefer to go by Thistle. I put in wiry, hunched, and cold, generally dark coloring, and I look like kind of the stereotypical college kid nerd because I dropped out of college to become a thief. Due to getting entangled with some people in Academy that I shouldn't have. I'm Severosi, and I picked Ghost Mind because what I was studying in the Academy was like history and lore, and the occult has always fascinated me.
Awesome. And Rack, I guess we should probably get people to update their names to have their character names in them.
So I'm Ramira Moon, but I prefer to be called Bug. Tall, twitchy, and wiry. I come from Takiros and am a barista for law. My guilty vice is gambling. I got caught doing some gambling with some money that wasn't mine, but a client's out of their trust account.
That'll get you in trouble right fast.
Depends on if you've got someone who's a judge or not in your pocket, doesn't it?
True. Well, you need somebody really at the Law Society. But
Paranoid. And my special ability is Scout.
cool. All right. I'm trying to get Midjourney to spit out an image for somebody with all black eyes that isn't bruises like black eyes, because that's how it interprets that. Not its best work. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to... So, as mentioned, you guys are being pressed for by Bazo Baz. He wants to know, are you with them or against them? Oh, and we've just lost somebody.
I think we already decided on being with
I was gonna say,
them, right?
we probably don't want to tick them off because we don't want everyone to dislike us.
I mean, you could. It is an option. It might
Doesn't
not be your
seem like-
best life
I was
choice.
gonna say, it doesn't seem like the wisest option.
Yeah, I feel like having one group in our corner to start out with, especially since we already have +1 reputation with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do?
They asked
we're
us
with
if
them.
we were. Yeah, they asked if we were with them, right? And so, we
Yeah.
say yes.
So what do you say?
We are with you.
This is
This is where I'm going to struggle. I'm horrible at dialogue.
That's all right. It's I mean, this is just how we get better at things, and just no judgment, right? This is to have fun as opposed to anything else. So Bazo says, good, excellent. So there's a couple of things you might want to do if to facilitate our relationship. I've got a bit of news that came in, and if you're agreeing to the job, I know where a payroll shipment will be. They're moving it. It'll be stored for one night and then later distributed. I know where it's going to land.
How big of
It will be.
How big of a payroll payment are we talking about?
Well, it's to keep their men happy and paid on shift. Now, this is my score, or at least this is my information. So you do the work, you get a piece of it.
How big of a piece?
Well, 2/3 are mine, and 1/3 is yours. Keep in mind, before you answer, I have other people I can give this work to. This is, call it a trial run.
Well, we're the ones taking the risk. So how about 1/3 plus the costs it takes for us to get there and get it and bring it to you?
I don't know how much it's going to cost for you to get there and bring it back.
Neither do we, because we don't know anything about it yet.
That's true.
What kind of security are we going to be facing on this job?
It's difficult to say what exactly they'll post overnight, but I imagine they'll have some guards. They might be able to set up a trap or two. I don't know. They're moving it to, well, a particular... They think we won't know where it is. It's not one of their usual spots. Unfortunately for them, we've got better ears than they think we do.
So will we have access to your inside man who gave you this information?
Oh, I know. Of course not. No. That's a trade secret. That's beyond what we're looking at here.
So in
For
terms of
someone that has better ears, you sure seem to be not knowing a lot of information about what we'd be facing.
They're going to set up things over the night. I know
In
where it's
terms
going
of-
to...
judging the size, how many, like, what is the size of the crew that this is going to be paying? Are we talking like a crew of like 5 people that's going to pay, or 50 people?
It's a substantial sum of money. And just in terms of, like, for your guys' awareness, it'll be the treasury itself that they're asking you to steal is about 12 coin. And so you'd get to keep 4. And 4 coin is a substantial chunk of money overall. It's, I'm just trying to... I'm going to see if I can find the page that kind of describes the equivalence of these things. But
Given that we currently have 2, that's a pretty big bump.
yeah. And so, like, 1 coin is a purse full of full purse of silver pieces, or a week's wages. 4 coin is like a satchel full of silver, or the equivalent of a month's wages. And 12 coin is like, a little bit more than what you might take to buy a small property.
My question on the mechanics, because I'm just looking and it says it looks like our lair already has some kind of storage capacity. So
Yeah,
is
your
all
lair-
of the money that we get going to the crew, or do we personally get any?
You can choose how to divide that up, right? So you can decide how you divide that. And so basically you're going to decide if you're going to put that on the crew sheet, although the lair itself can hold 4. You'll probably also have to, the crows will be asking for some money, but you're not paying them, so that's not a worry there. But you can also convert coin to stash, and stash is basically what you're using to retire. Each of you can also carry a maximum of, I think it's 2 coin on your person, and you can convert to stash later on. So if you have more coin than you can store, you can convert it to stash.
Okay, I'm never going to remember any of that, but thank you for telling us.
Yeah, that's just fine.
So, I mean, I'm thinking we should take the job. I don't see why not.
Well, I don't think we really have any choice in taking or not taking it. We have to take it to get in good with the Lamp Blacks. The question is if we're going to try and negotiate any better terms.
Or we can just take the money and run.
That would be a bad idea in this situation.
There would be, one of those little things that appears in the corner saying this action will have consequences.
Yeah, that's for the future players to worry about.
But that might also be you.
That's true.
But that's the problem for tomorrow's me, not today me.
That is true.
So it sounds like you're taking not a lot of risk here. You want 2/3, but all you're providing is a little, not even detailed information. You're just kind of telling us where it is. Seems to me 50-50 split might be more equitable.
Says, do I look like a man who does equitable? And you can try to throw some dice at him if you'd like. You'd have to sort of decide what actions you're taking.
Yeah, I don't think I've got much good that would help me there. Does anyone else have anything that would help maybe persuade him to give us a better cut?
Not to persuade. I have survey to try and collect more information, but I don't even know what I would roll for that.
Where did the skill descriptions go? Yeah.
I've got sway or wreck.
I feel like that will not end well for us.
Well, sway is potentially useful. Wreck, not so much.
Sway. Oh, yes, sway. Sway, that could help us, yeah.
Wreck might be bold.
But probably not bold in a way that we want.
Bold and wise are not necessarily the same idea.
I'm thinking we should probably just take the 1/3 unless we want to try and sway him to give us more.
I guess that would at least be partially up to the person who has sway to decide.
I'm happy to use it.
All right,
So
so
what-
we're going to try and sway him to 50-50.
What's your angle on trying to sway him?
I would say that if he's just providing information, a 70-30 split where we get the 70 actually probably makes more sense. But because we are being nice, we will give him 50-50.
Either that or we want the relationship to start off on a good foot, and how can that happen if we don't feel like we're getting fairly compensated?
Especially since the information is pretty much just a bare bones. Like, no,
here.
there's. Yeah, it's just like, it's here. You might face some guards. You might have some traps, but I don't know. That seems like an awful lot of risk to only get 1/3. Especially when it's got to go between the three of us.
And the crew.
So is that that's the pitch that you're making?
I think so, yeah.
All right. I think that's risky, and because he's kind of a reluctant guy. He's sort of generally not. He's generally not the bargaining type, so probably effect is limited. Give me a sway roll, and the way you do that is you've got 1 die in sway, so you're going to roll 1d6. And you need an exclamation mark in front of it for the bot.
Thank you.
No worries, the bot causes all sorts of trouble. It's a very mischievous bot.
Aren't all bots?
Some more than others.
So I got a 4.
He looks over and says, I'll throw it a little bit for expenses. We're not going to 50-50, but I'll throw some in for expenses. Just so that we're all on the same footing. And as the sort of side effect on this one, we're going to start a clock. And it will be a 6-point clock, and we're filling in one spot on it. That said, you're up to 5 coin on the payout on this one.
I think that's the best we're getting, guys.
Yeah, I shouldn't push our luck either way. So
Yeah, no, I'm happy
so-
with that.
1/3 plus expenses is very generous of you to concede to us. Is there anything other than the location that we can work off of?
So he'll fill you in on what he knows at this point, which is basically normally they've got a number of safe houses, and they're not putting it in any of those because they're concerned that Bazobaz is going to raid one of them. So instead, they're moving it to a small, what would have been a shop, but it's been abandoned. So they're moving it to that location. They're going to have some guards. They're going to defend it in some fashion, but they're not going to be super flashy about it because this is intended to be kind of clandestine. They think they're outsmarting Baz. Baz is one step ahead of them on this one. So he wants you to rip off this this treasury. So, or this, he wants you to basically steal their payroll here. So it also helps that you're not lamp blacks. So it doesn't look like it doesn't, this doesn't tip off that he knows. This is just purely an accident, right? So, all right. So now we're going to sort of cut to starting, and usually in like a D&D game, we would now sit down and you guys would do a lot of planning. We're not doing that because Blades in the Dark, we skip over that stuff. So you're basically going to pick a mode of action, and each of them has sort of a plan, and then you're going to provide a detail for it. So you can approach this with assault as one option, deception, stealth, occult, social, or transport. And so the missing detail on all of this is, if you go with assault, like what is the point of attack? If you go with deception, how are you going to try to trick them out of their money? These kinds of things. So basically we need a plan and some sort of further follow-up as to how you're doing this. Like, what is the infiltration point? What are you doing? So what kind of plan are you guys doing?
Occult?
that fits with the gang. I'm not sure how exactly that would work.
I mean, it's an abandoned shop. He hasn't specified what the abandoned shop is. If it's an abandoned occult shop, then we could desperately need to get into the basement for something.
Yeah.
Now, occult usually means you are somehow like engaging a supernatural element, right? You're conjuring a ghost or something along those lines. Whereas if you're lying to them to say you need access to the basement, that might be deception. Or if you're sneaking into the basement, that might be stealth. So this is just kind of how are you going to be doing this? What's the plan for how you go about this?
Okay, so the method, not the premise.
Yeah, like what are you doing to engage with this plan?
How big is the shop?
It's not huge. It's like a small, think like corner store, not like Walmart. It's been abandoned for a while. They've just set up in there to basically have a place to camp out on the money for a while.
From outside, can we tell how many guards there are? Not many.
This
you
is
said,
Blades. We're just gonna jump right in. So we're not doing a whole lot of planning. It's just what style of attack are you gonna be going with?
Are there few enough guards that a smash and grab is feasible? Or we'll just get
Well-
slaughtered?
well, neither.
I mean, you could-
none of us are fighters.
I mean, there's at least some fighting ability. It might not be, peak, but you guys could potentially get into trouble there.
Well, if there's more than 3 guards, then fighting is probably still not our best bet anyway.
And if you guys want to sort of find out details, we can make gather information rolls.
But we could do that. I have survey.
Do we want to go deception and tell them that we're the security guards to take over? It's the end of their shift. They can go home and rest.
I mean, we can try it. Do we want to try and gather some information first?
That might make sense. Also, does anyone have any skills that would help us convince them that we are, in fact, the other guards?
I don't think so. I definitely don't have any of the equipment or probably wardrobe that would be convincing of that.
I think one of you has sway, or at least some sway, which might help.
I'm this way.
All right. Well, I would like to survey first to find what information I can find.
All right. So, what is the question you want to have me answer here?
Guys, suggestions? I mean, something about the guards, but I don't know exactly what.
I was going to say it might actually help to figure out what we want to do first to tailor the question to try and find a gap in their defense specific to what we're trying to do.
Well, if it's a small shop, we're probably not going to be able to sneak in unless one of us creates a distraction, which means we're probably inevitably going to have to use some level of deception.
I do have rec to make things go boom.
I was going to say, I also have rec to make things go boom.
Okay. What's prowl again?
Prowl is for sneaking around.
Okay, well, I have that. So if you two can create a distraction at the front, either the front or the back, I can go in the other. But for that, we would need probably at least information on how many guards there are.
Sure.
So is that what you're looking for? And you said you were doing that with survey?
Yes.
All right. Give me a survey roll.
Which is how many dice?
It is however many you've got on survey on your sheet.
So 1. Oh, that didn't work. 1.
So there's at least one guard. but beyond that, you have no idea. You also are not sure, and this is a consequence you can, try to resist, but you think that, somebody spotted you, and they're not at this point, like, they didn't chase you or anything like that, but you do have some concerns as to whether or not they're basically getting a little more suspicious of what's going on here.
We have been standing outside trying to figure out what to do for a while.
Yeah, they're basically like, are we being cased?
Okay, well, if they've spotted us, then we're probably out front. So
now we've got a second clock.
I think our best bet is probably that distraction and then sneak in the back type deal.
All right, so this
All right.
sounds to me like a stealth mission. Then, I mean, even though there's a distraction element to it, it's to promote a stealth. Is that a fair
sounds
bit?
like it. Yeah.
And it sounds like your point of infiltration is towards the back. So we've got our details there. How are you going to be distracting them?
You two get in a fight and eventually start throwing wrecks at each other.
Accidentally miss each other and hit windows and doors on that shop front.
But that would bring all of the guards down on you guys trying to stop you at once as well.
True.
All right, so let's decide on our engagement roll. So it starts off with you guys have one die just as a base. Now, is the operation particularly bold or daring? We can get an extra die for that. I don't know if it's particularly bold. It seems like a fairly sensible plan. I'm not sure if I'd call it bold or daring. Is it overly complex or contingent on many factors? I don't think that's the case either. So I think we're still at one die. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? Yeah, I think I'll count that here. They're not expecting trouble here, so them being distracted by something is something that they might be a little more sort of available for. Are they strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? No. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation? So that's a question for you guys.
Probably not at this juncture.
I know a corpse thief. I don't know how that would help.
Maybe not. Just,
I've got a spy that's friends with me.
All right. Do you think the spy would be inclined to help out on that one?
I suppose it depends on what favours we're going to offer the spy.
I mean, if you've got a friendship with a spy, they're probably, they can probably do a little bit of, surveying and looking over it. So I'll say, let's give you an extra die for that. So you're up to 3 dice. So I think that's sort of what we're looking at here. So we're just going to... All right, so our best result is a 5 here, which means that you guys are going to be in a risky position when things start, which, is the usual. You're not in a desperate position, which is a good thing. All right, what kind of distraction are you guys setting up? So we'll start off. You guys have sort of snuck up near the building, right? And you're just about to set up your distraction. What was your distraction?
Throwing wrecks at each other and hitting the buildings.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
what
it should
ability?
probably at least start with a fight.
I was gonna say, yeah, we could have some kind of a
just
know-
starting out at 9 isn't gonna.
yeah, sort of just like two drunk people walk into each other, kind of hey, and then escalate from there type deal.
So what action are you using for that?
I want to say wreck because that's where we get to. I don't know if that's how it starts.
Does either of you have skirmish?
I don't.
And keep in mind, you can still do something if you've got no dots in it. Ways you can do that is you can get a bonus die for pushing yourself, which costs you 2 stress, and so that gets you 1 die. Or you can roll, but if you have no dice in it, you roll 2 dice and you take the worst of those options. So it has a high potential for going wrong.
I can take the 2 stress to get the extra die.
What if we start smashing a different? No, they probably. I was gonna say, what if we start smashing a different building? But I don't think they would really care.
Well, whatever it is, it's going to take enough time for me to sneak around the back and get in. And preferably also out.
So you got to pick what
say-
is your sort of ability that you're going to roll there.
I was gonna say, we
Because
can
you guys always pick the ability that you roll.
we can do an assist, right? Where a teammate pays 1 stress to do a plus 1d.
Yep, that's also an option. Yep. I think this one might be more of a group roll where you've got one leader who then rolls or who then takes stress if there's not successes from everybody. But you guys get to combine your abilities on it. I don't know. Or the assist would work. I'm fine with that working either way.
So I'm thinking, be nice to get it into that wreck though somehow, because I am much stronger in that.
And that may require a different approach than the one you're
Yeah.
on.
All right, well, I would take 1 stress to give an assist. If one of you guys wants to use, I imagine, probably skirmish to get that fight started and leading towards the wreck. Does that track?
That makes sense. To say I might also do an assist if I can, because if that doesn't work, we're kind of screwed. So
I think it's just 1 assist
Okay.
on that. Somebody else can do a setup action.
If I'm doing the skirmish, can I do the 2 stress points to get 1 dice and then use the assist on that to get extra?
Yep, you can push yourself as well. Yep.
So if we did that, what could our setup action be?
That's for you guys to tell me. Like, you guys would decide how you're setting this up, if you're going to be able to set it up.
Fight over something that happened at the tavern. that we're on our way home from or something.
What neighborhood did we say we were in again?
Crowsfoot.
Crow's Foot, yeah.
I'm just thinking, can we get a riot started?
I think it'd probably have to be a ghost riot. If we're doing this in the middle of the night, there's probably not a extreme wealth of people hanging around.
Yeah. So the thing I'm thinking, because it is held by the multiple gangs, I guess we could maybe try and start a fake gang war, but that doesn't seem that
That would
easy.
also take us back to deception and out of
Yeah,
stealth.
yeah,
That also sounds rather dangerous for us.
that's true.
And we need to make a decision or the guards are going to get more suspicious.
Yeah.
So you guys got to make a call here. What are you doing?
Could my skirmish be with the assist and stretching be the setup for the wreck?
Yeah, I mean, you can get that set up.
That sounds like the way we want to go.
All right. Give me the roll for the skirmish.
So okay, well, who's rolling actually, I guess is the question.
Me. That was two six-sided die.
I thought it was 4 with my assist. Or how do you have anything in skirmish?
No, it would
No.
just be 2 because I don't.
Well, her stretching herself would be 2, right? And then if I'm giving assist would be a 3rd.
No, her pushing herself gets her a bonus die.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she takes 2 stress.
Okay. I had that backwards.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so that's 2 six-sided die.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 2d6.
No.
Everything is,
no.
is d6s.
No.
Hello, halfling.
My dead.
All right. So the best result on that is the 4, which is enough for a partial success or a success with some consequences. And so in this case, the consequence here is going to be, what is it? That they're taking notice of this. So someone's going to remember you.
Okay, so the fight is happening up front, drawing attention at this point.
Yep. Although I think they were going to transition to a wreck to get the full effect here.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I want to do prowl now to start heading around the back and sneaking in?
Let's get
Or
them to
was
do
that
their
for
wreck
later?
and then
Okay.
yeah. So I take it the wreck is your guys are trying to basically break some things on the on this.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
All right. Give me that roll. And with a bonus die for the setup here.
3. So yeah, full success.
All right. So you've got several people sort of watching, not all of them from, coming out, but there's 3 people that you can see that come out and are giving you grief Oi, you better knock this off. And 2 of them are sort of peeking out the windows. They do look like they're armed. So they've got, you can see that they've got clubs, but they've probably got other stuff as well. So now we can go, and you wanted to sneak in?
Yeah, use prowl to sneak in the back while they're distracted at the front.
All right. So this is, I think, going to be controlled because of the benefit of the distraction here. So you got a controlled roll, which should have, which should have good effect here.
Okay. So it's 1d6. Why do the dice hate me?
All right. That's not
I'm
ideal.
a fresh college dropout, so.
All right. So you go and you try to open the back door, and the back door is not only locked, but it also, makes a loud clanging sound. Now, the good news is that they're not paying as much attention because of the distraction. But distraction ends. We're ticking that up at we're starting a clock on that. We're ticking it up to 2 points. So they may well catch you soon. So at this point, you've realized this back door is not only locked, but it seems like they've got some like metal, bits sort of dangling from it to make noise. What is the game plan?
Do you want to just try smashing a window? They seem reasonably well distracted, but I guess not for that much longer.
I could try that. What would I use for that? Wreck? I don't think I have any equipment.
You can always push yourself for something that you don't have dots in. Because right now you guys are kind of talented amateurs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what I would need. Is the equipment I have available is vague.
So the equipment you have available is a like you get to look over that list, right?
Yeah.
And each of these things you can decide you have on you at any particular point.
Yes.
So you can decide that you have this gear and then make use of it. And once you decide you have it, you tick it off. And I should have asked, what is everyone's load at this point?
I'm light.
Yeah, I'll probably go light.
I'm hanging light too.
But we all have +2 because of our crew
Right.
upgrade.
Yeah. Which is an excellent upgrade.
Yeah. Would burglary gear help me in this situation?
I would assume you could pick that lock.
I think it's detailed here. I'm just wondering if it's in the player's guide or if it's only in...
They have like a list of common gear. Oh yeah, burglary gear is there. Set of lockpicks, small pry bar, oil to silence squeaky hinges, wire, fishing hooks, pouch of sand. So yeah, I'm going to have burglary gear and use the lockpicks to try and unlock the door first and figure out what I'm doing about the clanging metal, if I can manage that.
All right. Which action is that?
Good question. Well, I'm still trying to sneak in somewhere, so would it be prowl again?
I mean, prowl's certainly arguable. So, yeah. I think you're at a risky action here with moderate effect. And it's risky because there's people who might hear what you're up to.
4, finally a success.
Now,
Even if it's a
do you have
bad
any... well, it's a success with consequences.
Yeah, that's why I said a bad one.
All right, so the consequence in this case is we're going to tick the distraction ends clock and fill it, which means at this point the guards have basically decided that this fight is not something to pay attention to, although one of them sort of calls out to you to, if you break another window, we're going to break some legs. And another sort of flashes a pistol and puts it away. But they are heading back into the building.
Okay, so I need to hurry and get inside.
Yeah, but you've got the door open.
Well, I've got the door unlocked. I don't have it open with hanging metal clanging from it.
Fair. I was
I
figuring
do
you were
also
able to
have-
unlock it and sort of carefully open it in the same
I can
in the
go
same
with that.
motion.
All right. I can accept that. So
It's just that you're going to make a lot of noise if you're like trying to bang the thing or jimmy it or whatever else. And when you're messing with the doorknob when you don't have it locked or when you don't have it unlocked, it makes a lot of noise. You're able to deal with it a lot more easily once you already know that it's there.
Okay, so if I've managed to open the door enough to get in without noise, then I guess I
So-
need to get in and find where the
Right
queen
now
is.
you're sort of in a back room, which would have been a storage room, but it's been cleared out. It looks like this place has been kind of picked over and there's debris and detritus, but not a whole lot of anything else. This was a fairly sort of nondescript room, and there's another exit out the way. You can hear people talking, but they're not like right next to you. They're more towards the front of the building.
Okay. So I would need if I don't see anything in the back room that the coin would be stashed in, then I need to get out to the front. The logical place for them to put it for the night would be the locked register, I assume.
Somewhere. You're going to have to sort of poke around and find out.
Okay. So I would like to go over to the door to the front and survey to try and determine where the coin is hidden.
Okay. Give me a survey roll. And the other two, what are you guys up to now that they're not really paying as much attention to you?
Are there any eyes on the back? Like, is there anyone watching, or can I just also sneak through that back door now?
There's not one directly watching, but you may still need to make a check just because it's, there's the possibility someone will hear you.
Yeah, okay, I think I'll give that a shot, and I'm assuming a prowl makes the most sense there. Fail.
Both of us got 2s.
And Bug, are you coming along?
Now I'm going to hang out the front waiting, so that way if there is anything happening on the inside, I can create a distraction to get them out, hopefully.
Fair enough. You're the rescue plan. Gotcha. All right. Now, Orlin, you're heading up and you're not super quiet, especially because, as it turns out, you did not get a tip off about the clangy things on the door. So when you follow in, there is some additional clanging, and we're just going to...
And also me hiding at the side of the door, looking back at you angrily for making more noise.
So we're ticking up the guard suspicion. They're like, did you hear something? I was like,
Must have
peeking
been
out
the
the window.
wind.
Are they still fighting? But they're getting close to coming to go look for you guys.
Okay, and my 2 on survey.
Means that you unfortunately don't spot anything.
Okay.
So you're not really sure where things would be. You're pretty sure it's not in this room.
Pretty sure, but not completely sure.
Do we know how many guards are in the front?
You've seen 5. There might be more.
Okay.
Is there a counter near the door to the back that we can sneak out behind?
If you peek out the door, there's actually it continues on to sort of the main storefront, but there's also a set of stairs downwards that is that you could take a turn and go downwards.
Like from the door without being spotted?
Assuming that you can do so relatively quietly.
Okay. I'm assuming that would be another prowl.
Yeah.
Six! Finally!
And Devin, was that you rolling as well? Or was that a previous roll?
That was a previous roll.
Are you
All right.
following me or staying in the back?
Following?
I think I'll stay here for now, just in case I need to deal with some of these people.
All right. So you're going to be staying as sort of emergency muscle.
Exactly.
All right. So, Thistle, you're headed down the stairs, and as you go and step on one step, you hear a click. It seems that there was some sort of mechanism attached to the step. Now, the question, it hasn't gone off at this point, and the question is, what are you going to do?
Well, it's probably a pressure trigger for something, which means that I need something equivalent to my weight to hold the trigger down as I continue on. And I'm presumably halfway down the stairs at this point, so I probably can't even see anything. And I have no way of communicating.
There is some light, but it's not super. It's not super bright.
But I probably wouldn't be able to actually see much down into.
Not unless you
basement.
say got something, something to see with.
What kind of background noise are we talking about? Like, is there any way she could alert me without the guards also hearing?
Might be tough.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I mean, lighting a lantern at this point would probably draw more attention than it would help me.
It is a possibility.
And other than that, like, I don't see any other possibility for me being able to see anything. As for other resources I might have to try and get Orland's attention.
Do you have heavy armor you could put on and then just leap down the stairs?
I don't think so. I mean, I could, but it would use 3 of my remaining 4 slots.
true, but it does keep you alive.
But also, how heavy would me setting a bunch of heavy armor down be? And does it weigh enough to keep the trigger depressed?
All of these are interesting questions.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you put the armor on and then you fling yourself down the stairs so that you're protected from being
Well, yeah,
too
but then
badly injured on the blow up.
yeah, but then I bring a whole building down on top of me in the basement.
Or at the very least, a whole bunch of guards down on top of you.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, you're assuming it's a bomb. There's all sorts of nasty things it could be.
Yeah, I have not assumed it was a bomb other than that it might be if it was a blast, but there's also a multitude of other things. I could be going down into a flurry of mechanized bows shooting arrows at me. I don't know.
You could try surveying to see what's around, if there's any obvious, giant boulders hanging.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to survey to try and figure out what the trap is.
All right. Survey, I think, is probably... I think that's probably desperate here, just because it's difficult to figure that out without some tinker. So give me a roll.
5.
All right. Now you lean over and you sort of look at it, and you can see a faint wire that circles down, and then peering into the dark, you can see what looks like a rifle aimed up at the stairs, or maybe a shotgun.
So aimed up the stairs at me at the moment.
Yeah. And the downside of all of this is that you hear another click as you're, leaning to try to do things.
Okay, so with the shifting weight, it's pulling the hammer further back. All right. The next click is probably going to be a trigger pull. If it's a rifle, that's good news because I can dodge it and not die, but it will also bring a lot of attention. And I don't think I have anything that would cover that at all. The noise, I mean.
Yeah, that's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So, Orland, are you hanging out at the top of the stairs waiting?
You know what? I think enough time has passed. I'm suspicious and I haven't heard anything. So I'm going to slowly approach the stairs to see what's going on. At which point I'm going to ask, what are you doing just standing there? We got Take to get away with.
And I'm going to, first of all, gesture you to lower your voice, please. Then, make a motion for a gun cocked at the bottom of the stairs.
Um,
And trying to point down at the stair that I'm on to indicate that there's a trap on it.
Can I try to disarm this?
With what ability?
Tinker.
That sounds good to me. I think you're in a risky situation here because you've got a thing about to go off. So give me a check.
Full success.
All right, so you manage to catch it, and basically underneath this staircase, it's designed so that when the weight goes on it, it sort of releases one thing, and the weight coming off it was to release another. It got barely caught, so that was going to release a weight that would have then pulled the trigger. You managed to jam the weight to the staircase, so it won't fire at this point. So that trap is disarmed.
All right. So at this point, we're both on the staircase, right? Because he would have had to join me to do that.
Yeah. And assuming you guys proceed down the stairs, it is dark down there.
Well, I have a lantern.
All right. Tick off the lantern on gear, and now you guys can see there is a sort of what would have been further storage, and what most of the place has been cleared out. There is a safe that has been probably dragged here because everything else has been cleared out, and there is this safe.
All right. Well, the first thing I want to do is check for more traps.
All right. Give me what is the ability you're going to use? And all right. I think at this point
nothing else that's useful for it.
I think at this point you're looking at a controlled situation. There's no active threats to you. So give me a roll on that.
4.
All right. So you don't find any traps. You're pretty sure that the place is not trapped. But in the course of this, you spill a little bit of lamp oil, which is creating a small. It's catching on some of the detritus.
Okay.
You've got a small fire on the go.
Small fire. Okay. Well.
Small fire, which could turn into all sorts of problems. So
Yeah,
right now it's a small fire.
We want to put that out quickly.
I'm thinking I can smash open the safe with something, but I have saboteur, so my wreck is much quieter. Yeah. So that
I also have a pry bar in my burglary kit. So what kind of safe is it?
It's got like a dial to it,
Standard
and then a little
combination.
lever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a combination safe.
All right. So I've rethought putting out the fire because that will be useful to cover our exit. So we need to hurry before it starts spreading.
Right. So I think I'm going to try to use the crowbar to smash open the safe, basically.
Can he use my gear? Can I hand him a crowbar?
Yep.
Okay.
And saboteur, so it should be much quieter.
Yep.
Partial success.
All right. So you managed to pry open the safe, but it is still it's less noisy than it should, than it would have been, but there's still some noise to it. You're wrenching this open. Give me a sec. Actually, no, I'll pick a different consequence on that because you've got the quiet ability, which I think should matter a little bit more here. So you wrench open the safe, but in the course of doing so, you pick up a minor harm, like a level 1 harm, for strained shoulder. Basically, you throw your back out a little bit, yarding this safe open.
Okay, is the coin in the safe?
Yes. When you open the safe, there is the coin in there.
Okay, good. That would have really sucked if it wasn't.
Yeah, no, this is where they put it.
All right, so
Oh, I just realized how much coin can we carry?
You guys will be able to carry this. It's
Okay.
it's so
it's in a
This
pouch,
is
not
the-
our personal coin.
this is the plot hauling. Yeah.
Okay,
All right. So now you got to get out of here.
yeah. So which one of us
Which-
wants to grab it? I'll grab the coin and shoo him back up the stairs.
Yeah, the coin is fairly heavy as you sling it on your back. It's like a small backpack full of money. So at that point, I think we're going to need a prowl check for you guys getting out of here, or whatever, if you've got a better way to do it. But
I think prowl's our only option.
you can hear people sort of talking and moving around in there.
Two.
Oh, 6.
Which is
Not that it
good,
really
considering,
matters.
well, I'm the one that's carrying the coin, so me only getting a 2 isn't great.
All right, so that's going to be enough to tick off our clocks here, or at least one of the clocks. And oops. So guard suspicion has been ticked off, and so whoops, I thought I edited that out. There we go.
What is this building made
Why is
of?
that not editing? It is wood and stone.
Yeah, so it can still burn down from the fire that we started, but we need to at least get into the back room first while they go down to check and then find the fire.
Well, I was just going to say you can throw it. Well, if the floor is wooden, you could just take the lamp and throw it on the ground in the hallway or whatever between the front and back rooms to hopefully create a wall of fire.
Right now, you guys are
I don't
coming up
think
the stairs,
I don't think lamp oil would be that effective.
and you hear, "We better check. We better check on the." So they're coming right now.
Out the front, can I hear them say that they're gonna go check?
Yeah. I assume you're paying attention. You're trying to watch the place.
So I need to do something to get these other two out before they get burnt or caught.
Burnt is going to take a while, but caught is probably the bigger thing.
Can I,
mean,
flashback and say that I put a booby trap in that hallway between the front and back rooms?
Now, normally a flashback would be to before the thing, but I don't see a reason why we can't flash back to earlier while you were there. So, yeah, I think that's probably a point of stress because it's a little bit more complicated. So take a point of stress and make give me an action for what kind of booby trap you're talking about.
I'm going to say some kind of explosive type deal and wreck.
All right. What do you have in terms of your gear that might be explosive here?
And is it going to block us getting into the back room from the staircase if it blows something up?
Well, I was thinking in whatever doorway or hallway between the front and the back, so we can still leave in the back door.
Okay.
Demolition tools, I assume there's something I can use to explode something in there.
Possibly. I'm just looking at what demolition tools encompasses.
Not really. It's a sledgehammer, iron spikes, heavy drill, and crowbar.
Oh.
Under leech items for bandolier, I see you've got grenades in there.
Oh, yeah, I do. That would work.
The drawback on that is that they are conspicuous. I assume that's probably not a big problem for you.
Well,
Yeah.
at this point, if we're blowing it up. Also, if you have grenades, we don't need to do a flashback, do we?
To have set it up already, yeah.
But if I have
unless
the
he wants
grenades, I
to
can
just
just pitch them.
unless he wants to just throw a grenade, that's something he can do right now.
Well, we kind of need it right now.
That might make more sense than the flashback.
So, which would you like to do?
Let's pitch a grenade down that toward
Out
that
into the
entrance to the
front?
front room. Yeah.
All right, which ability are you giving me for or using for that one?
Wreck?
Wreck seems appropriate. Give me a risky check because these guys are about to burst through and start mauling you. But this will have great effect if it goes off.
Partial success.
All right, so the partial success is this thing goes off, but it is in the stairwell, not in the stairwell, but it's firing shrapnel, and you guys catch some of the shrapnel. So each of you is going to take a level 2 injury of shrapnel.
Where do
Now
we
that
move
means that you
Sorry, on
under
the character.
harm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just in the number 2 slot.
Yep, which you'll note means that you've got -1 dice. So this is impairing you in some fashion here. Also, if you get too many injuries, eventually, or too much harm, eventually you will end up in the needs help and not great status.
So, what did that do to the guards?
The
I see.
guards are pretty messed up.
Okay.
They're not. You've got at least enough time to make it out, and several of the guards are pretty badly hurt.
All right, so we dash out the back door as
Yeah.
quickly as we can, injured, carrying a massive bag of coin.
Yep. So now, do you guys have an escape plan?
Well, Bug's been out front for a while. It was probably to watch the front, but also to make sure our getaway vehicle's ready.
This sounds like a time for a flashback.
Probably. Are carts the only vehicles here?
They're the most common. What sort of other vehicles are you thinking here?
I don't know.
I was gonna say boat.
Well, that would require us to also be near the docks.
Or, I mean, if you look
Or
at the map,
water,
there's lots
generally.
of streams, but this place is unfortunately not right next to a stream.
Okay, so getaway vehicles probably a no-go. But we do still have someone out front that can probably help with something.
We could have flashback to say that we had set up a getaway vehicle sitting, waiting to go.
And
Okay.
then how did you set that up?
We have a budget for expenses. We could have just bought a cart and parked it out front or out back, I guess.
Yep. If you guys want to spend a coin to have hired a guy with a cart to be waiting nearby, that's
Works for me.
perfectly viable.
Sounds good, and all those grenades going off is the signal to me to get that guy nice and close to the back door for a quick and easy getaway.
Sounds good. Whoever does the flashback should also mark down a stress. And you guys get into the cart and, bail.
Orlin, how many stress do you have at the moment?
I have none, so I can take that.
Okay,
Yeah, because I'm at 2.
and I have 1.
All right, so that's a good sort of little introductory score. Scores can be longer or shorter depending on sort of what we're looking for, but I think that that's sort of a good, introduction. And I am new to running things in this, so there's things where I'm like, I can improve this as we go. But all in all, I think that things were not terrible. We sort of got through character generation, which is always going to be a hurdle when we're talking about people who've never run a game. And this one, I kind of like for it being relatively painless. I feel like if you guys had to do another character generation, like if one of you got, if one of you had gotten really mangled by that grenade, like you just dropped the grenade at your feet and they're like, oh,
Oops.
crap. Then you could probably knock out another one in a few minutes, right? This is, I think, a fairly painless system in that regard. Would you guys agree with that? Is that your sort of feeling on this one?
Yeah, I would say I probably would want the book to do it again and have more information at hand rather than trying to just use the player kit. But
Yeah.
it's pretty simple.
I mean, having the book is a big help. And I kind of intentionally said, don't buy the book for this, right? Because we're basically just trying to do this as kind of like, let's wing it from scratch, right? Let's see sort of the most newbie situation. I think it's entirely playable. And I will tell you, I've seen groups that have lots more experience than you guys struggle a lot more with the Blades in the Dark system because of some of the assumptions. Like when I was asking you guys, hey, what do you want to use for this? You're like, I think this is Wreck. And this is, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me. Lots of people who've been playing for ages, I can keep asking, what is, and they're like, well, you tell me what to roll. It's like, no, that's not how this works. So, you guys were doing some flashbacks. You guys are doing some, various, sorts of things. I think this went fairly well. We're going to work out some of the kinks as we go because that's just kind of how games work. But I hope you guys had fun. Is that, yes, no?
Yeah.
And no is a
Yeah.
perfectly good answer here because if not, then that's something to fix, right?
And I had lots of fun.
Oh yeah, it
And
was definitely fun.
we're going to have to get you involved. Sometimes you sort of end up playing, you were sort of playing the Watchman there, and I wasn't sure entirely what to throw at you. What I thought I might have, and I sort of was like, we're going to wrap this up a little faster than I might like because we're sort of getting on time and so forth, and this is intended to be quick. If I was doing this again, I might have had like a Blue Coat Patrol wander up and be like, we heard some reports that there was some stuff, that there was some, noises over this way. Have you heard anything? Just to keep you like, what do I do here? Because really at its best, Blades in the Dark, everyone should be kind of getting nervous about like, our plan is going sideways. And that's kind of why a lot of the checks are the sort of yes, but checks. Like you succeed, but there's a problem. It's because there should always be some element of things are not necessarily working out for the best. And I'm going to sort of work on getting better at doing that as well, just to keep sort of tension up and pressure on. But so the next phase of things is downtime, because you guys have made it out. You guys give Bazobaz, I assume, his portion.
Yep.
Or not. I mean, if you want to pick a fight, that's also an option. So, but everything has consequences, and sometimes those consequences are, I add a lot of, a lot of things to a check there. Now, so the first thing on this is, payoff, and your payoff here is was 5 coin. You spent a coin on this, so you've increased by a total of 4 coin. So you've got 4 coin on that. You also earn 2 rep by default. So your gang has gone from 0 rep, nobody's heard of you, to 2 rep, which is good. And then once that happens, you guys can decide if you want to start paying the crows. If so, that'll take a coin.
I mean,
I am not seeing a lot of hands bracing.
Well, I mean, I think we kind of already decided that we're going to try and just put that off as long as possible.
Fair enough.
I was thinking 1 coin to each of us and then 1 for the group,
Yeah.
yeah.
and hold on to that group coin so that if something goes bad, then we can pay off
Yeah.
the ones that we need to.
All right. Now, in terms of heat, you guys have, this isn't smooth and quiet, low exposure because you guys had a grenade go off.
And some wrecks thrown around in the street.
Contained standard exposure. It's either that or loud and chaotic high exposure. I don't think it's high exposure because the grenade went off, but it was in a building and there wasn't a huge amount of chaos. Whereas
Well,
if you
no
were like,
blue coat showed up, so
yeah, so I
least
think
not-
that gives you. Sorry, go ahead.
At least not before we got away.
So I think that gives you 2 heat as a base. However, we're going to add 2 heat because of killing being involved. And that kind of happens when you throw a grenade into a group of people. So you're up to 4 heat on the heat tracker. Now, when the tracker is full, we're going to start marking wanted levels. And as wanted levels go up, the way those get cleared is somebody eventually gets arrested. So be aware of that.
How much heat until it fills up?
9. So when it hits 9, it fills up. So right
Okay.
now you're at 4. Now, nobody's incarcerated at this point because that's what happens when we go there. Now we're also going to roll an entanglement level, and because you guys have the slippery trait, you roll twice, and you're going to take whichever choice you like better. So, can I get 2 6-sided dice? Or somebody roll me 2d6.
Got it. I shouldn't have done it. 1 and 2.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily the best. So, options here are basically gang trouble. So one of your gangs or other cohorts causes trouble due to their flaws. You can lose face, forfeit rep equal to your tier +1. Make an example of one of the gang members or face reprisals from the wrong party. So you've got some issues there as an option. Another is questioning, which is that the blue coats grab an NPC member of your crew or one of the crew's contacts to question them about your crimes. And so that person may talk or you may have to pay them off. So which of those do you prefer?
let the blue coats do the arresting because I'm a lawyer.
Also,
Well,
what
that
does
we didn't use any of our NPCs in this, so
I was
no
gonna say they don't
information
really
would-
know very much. I don't
They'll
know.
still know enough to cause you some trouble.
I still vote.
Yeah, I still
Whenever
think that's our best
NPCs
bet.
gets arrested.
Yeah.
All right, NPC gets grabbed and questioned. We are going to roll a fortune roll, which is just so your what do you call it? This is your tavern keeper, and that's a 6. So he gets picked up and manages to keep quiet. So good choice. He keeps his mouth shut. So when he comes back, he's like, "Yeah, they were giving me some grief, but I didn't spill." So that's good because otherwise it could have increased your heat. Now, each of you gets 2 downtime activities. So each of you has to pick 2 of these activities. And I'm just trying to see if there's a list of downtime activities in your sheet. hopefully there is. Downtime appears a lot, but I'm just trying to see if it appears with... All right, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. I'm going to search for something else. All right, it looks like this is on page 27. So your options. Acquire asset. So acquire temporary use of an asset, which is something that you might use in a future adventure or future thing. Long-term project. You can start a project if you have the means to do so. Now that's not guaranteed, but you can start a project to accomplish something you want to do. Recover is if you have injuries, you can get treatment to start ticking your healing clock, which healing is slow. Healing kind of sucks. It takes a while to do. So you may have injuries for a while, and that can cause you trouble. The next is reduce heat. So if you've got an idea for how to figure out how to chill the guards out, you can take steps to reduce heat. You can train, which is you get a point of XP, and we should also just decide on XP because that's important. And you can indulge vice. Now I should check and see if we just do the experience right at the end or what the proper order is. Give me a second. I'm just looking at the order of operations here.
Would healing help stress, or are we stuck with those stress levels?
You heal stress by indulging your vice. So I'm just looking up when we do the experience, because as I said, I've never run one of these, so and we probably should have been calculating this as we go, because it'll be a little harder to do retrospectively. So during this game session, did we have anyone make a desperate attack roll?
I don't think so.
No, I think we only got to risky.
Okay. I thought somebody might have done desperate, but
The
no.
grenade, was that desperate?
I think it was very
I thought that
risky.
was risky.
Yeah.
I think that was just risky.
I think the closest to desperate was when I was sitting on the stair, and even then I think that was just quite risky.
All right, the next is playbook specific XP triggers. So, what is it? We have, sadly for Whisper, so Whisper is addressing a challenge with knowledge or arcane power. I'm not sure if we did that, but largely it's sort of up to you guys, and kind of, so it's if you feel that that's the case. Orland, yours is addressed a challenge with technical skills or mayhem. I think that is a definite tick. And for Bug, addressed a challenge with tracking or violence. I think that's also a tick. So you guys get 2 experience for that if you sort of tick that out. And that goes for your playbook. Or sorry, it's 1 experience for it in your playbook, or 2 if it happened multiple times. The next is you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. That also is something that you can tick experience for. And if you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during the session. I don't think anyone did that, so that is what it is. So that's it, sort of at the end of the session there that we tick that off.
I got nothing.
And that happens. It's not sort of a big concern here because everything is we also look for crew advancement at the end of the session. So for shadows, crew advancement, I think, is based on, I'm just looking, whenever you execute a burglary, espionage, robbery, or sabotage operation, you mark XP. I think this definitely counts, right? So that, I think, is a 2 XP in the crew advancement. Contend with challenges above your current station. I think that this was your current station. Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. What did we decide your reputation was again? Strange.
Yeah.
I don't know that this was really down the lines of strange. So, and express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew. So that one is kind of up to you guys as to do you feel that happened?
No, I don't think we
Yeah.
filled out all of that enough to be able to determine it.
Nope, fair enough. So the crew, as a crew, gains 2 experience, and when the crew gets enough experience, it can increase in abilities and so forth. All right, so somebody was asking about indulging vice. Basically, to do that, you roll equal to your lowest attribute, and your attributes are basically resolve, prowess, insight, and basically the best score out of each of those things is what determines that that's your your insight or your prowess. So Bug, you've got 2 points in insight and prowess, and 1 point in resolve. So you would roll 1 die. For most people, this is going to be 1 dice or 1 die for if you want to indulge vice. Yes, for all 3 of you. So the way that works is you clear stress equal to your highest die result. If you clear more stress levels than you had marked, you overindulge. And if you overindulge, then you get into trouble. So you will have to select an overindulgence from the list of ways you got yourself in trouble. So you may not want to start clearing stress unless you've got a bit of stress to clear, right?
Yeah, we might want to hang on until we've got 4 or 5.
Yeah. Because otherwise you can get yourself in some trouble. So what actions do people want to take during downtime?
I would like to recover and train.
All right. So recovering, you can seek treatment, and so the healer rolls. So Tinker for a PC with the physical ability or the quality level of an NPC. So I don't know if it's needed for that. I'm just checking. So give me a 1 dice roll here.
Oh my god. 1.
All right, so that heals 1 segment on the project clock for healing. So you've got a 4 element clock, and you can mark that on your sheet there with the long-term projects and notes, which has 1 segment for healing. And if you want, you can heal again.
In the same action, my other one was train.
Or you'd need to use another action for it. So if you're taking train, then you can just mark 1 XP, or if it's something that is relevant to your thing, then 2, because you've got the extra training out of your crew.
I think that's me done, unless I need to tell you what I'm marking.
Nope, all good. All right. I've got a moth that's flown in here. So, Orlin, what are you doing in your downtime?
I am also going to heal.
Okay.
So-
Roll me a die there.
6.
All right. So that is going to fill 3 segments of your healing clock.
Do I want
And-
to try again?
That is a good question with many
that
possible
minus
answers.
one from the shrapnel is really going to hold me back, I think. So yeah, I'm going to do that again.
All right. Roll me another die there.
That 4.
All right. And 4 is going to heal 2 segments. So they do roll over. So you now have another clock that is healing at 1. And as a result of that, you're going to... so that 1 level injury that you have clears off. The level 2 injury becomes a level 1 injury. So
Right.
everything drops by 1.
Yeah.
So you're still injured, but you're getting better. All right. And Bug.
Well, I don't really need healing because I didn't get injured. So training times 2, I'm guessing.
All right. And if you're training in what you were proficient in there, or what you sort of had as, so which is anything in the prowess category, then you get 2 XP for each round of training. Or you have to train each, you can train a given XP track only once per downtime. So if you're training in prowess, you gain 2, and anything else, you gain 1. And you can see the little playbook with the XP trackers along it. So
Yep.
that's how many spots you would. So under prowess, you can put 2 if you're training that. Playbook, you can put 1. Insight or resolve, 1. So those, I think, are your options.
I might go 1 for resolve to get in a tune.
Okay, well, you just put 1 in the XP thing. You've got to fill up that
Yep.
XP bar before you can gain dots
Yep.
in it. Yeah.
And so I've got 1 in resolve. I can't do resolve twice, can I?
No, you have to do another XP track.
Then I think I'll go insight.
Okay, so that's another. So you'd put 1 in that track as well.
Yes.
All right. So I think that's covered our downtime. And basically, next time, you just sort of have these characters who are ready to go. And they could go on another mission and suffer more, consequences, gain more loot. And that's kind of how the game is played.
Well, thank you for leading us through it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining me for it. It's, as I said, this is kind of an adventure because this is my first time running this, and it's a little different from everything else I've run, right? It's so it's a fun game. I want to get better at running it, but I think it's a pretty solid game. It's one of my favorite games, and it's one of those games where I'm just like, I think that some of the stuff in it is just amazing when it works really well, like the flashbacks and so forth. And as we play, we'll get better at doing all of that because, this is kind of a change in thinking from most games. So anybody have any sort of final thoughts? Or if not, I will roll our video as an outro here, and then we can chat backstage.
I feel like the flashbacks are almost like a slapstick comedy added in.
They're not supposed to be necessarily slapstick comedy. They're more intended to be like, when you see in a heist movie where they've got the clever plan that they thought up ahead of time, you can do all sorts of things with them. Oh, this guy's stealing our gem. Well, turns out that was actually a fake gem because I made a copy of this so that we could swap that out. And so that's, we're avoiding the double cross like that. You can say like, hey, instead of being trapped as I run up this tower that, there's no exit to, I actually paid for a guy to be there with a hay cart, and I'm going to leap out. Because this was actually, I'm not getting treed in this tower. This is my grand plan. You can have things like, I walk through the frisk search and nobody finds any weapons on me because flashback, I actually hid a knife in this bar earlier. And so now I just retrieve the knife from where I hid it, and now I'm armed, even though there's a frisk search at the door. All of these are options that you can do. And so they're not necessarily like slapstick. Some of them might be pretty serious, like I've actually got a knife, folks. But it's intended so that you don't have to plan that out ahead, right? You don't have to be like, so that you can just, if you're running an assassination at a guy, with this secured meeting, you can just kind of dive right in without having to plan how you got your knives in. It's just, yeah, I'm going to flash back. That's how we're going to solve this problem. So it lets you, the idea is that you can dive right into the action quickly. And I think that's something we can get better at, is just like, here we are right in the thick of things. It's hard to break the urge to plan, right? Because that's sort of how we think about things. Whereas this is in sort of a weird game around not planning, or at least not planning in advance. Flashbacks let you do your planning in advance after things that you would have planned for have already happened, right?
It feels almost like an ADHD player thing. We're just like, oh, we forgot about that. Let's go and fix that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even I forgot about it, because you never actually got the chance to do it, right? Like if you guys had said, hey, we actually spent 3 weeks surveilling this place, or, and I know that there's a secret window. I would have said that's kind of unlikely. Take 2 stress for that, but sure, give me a, give me whatever role, and you'd say, hey, maybe I feel like that is survey. So, we actually found the hidden exit that everyone else has forgotten about. I'm like, yeah, okay, 2 stress. That seems unlikely, but you can still do it. And you can kind of change the story that way, right? We've got a secret route in or out. So kind of, it's a bit of the DM handing over that narrative control, because most games, the DM has sort of absolute narrative control over what happens. But in this, you can kind of mess with that in all sorts of ways. Like in theory, you can be like, somehow you might have been able to say, hey, we knew that this was going to be the place ourselves, and we planted explosives on the foundation. And I would be like, how? But okay. How gets me to 2 stress. But then we just go with, okay, sure, we'll run with it. You might have, hey, I'm in a bar fight, right? You've been ambushed in the bar. You thought you were going out for drinks and to, have a meeting with somebody. But as it turns out, somebody is getting the drop on you. You can be like, hey, I anticipated that this might have come up. So I actually hired a bodyguard, and he's there wearing, street clothes, but this dude's ready to have my back. He's in the room. And I'd be like, sure, makes sense. You guys might have expected trouble, so we'll do it. It's a really sort of neat aspect. One thing we didn't do this session, and that, I'll try to make sure I include in a future session, is Devil's Bargains, which are basically that I or another player can offer somebody an extra die on something. Like you guys are rolling something and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. I could be like, or you can accept this extra die on this roll, but there's a cost. And so if you take this, then there will be some consequence that happens regardless, right? And so an example of that might be, you're trying to sneak in, and I'd set it up as a failure consequence that somebody will remember you. But I could have put that as a devil's bargain too, right? You guys are starting this fight, and I'm like, I'll give you an extra die on this, but the consequence is that somebody's going to take note, and that may come back to kick you in the pants later. So all of those are kinds of tools, but players can also do devil's bargains. So, Thistle might be doing a thing, and Orlin goes, "Hey, here's my deal. And if players are offering devil's bargains, I get a veto, because maybe you guys are offering devil's bargains that aren't really devilish bargains. Hey, so you get an extra die, but you also find an extra coin." I'd be like, no, that is not appropriate. Like, it's supposed to be a penalty. But he could say, hey, you get an extra die, but you end up losing some coin as, let's say you're climbing a wall and you're like, I don't know if my finesse is good enough for this climb, or I don't know if my prowl or whatever it is that you're using for it is good enough for this climb. I'm kind of worried. Another player might say, well, the devil's bargain is you get the extra die, but you drop a point of coin as you have to adjust, your positioning, and some of your money falls out. You might be like, and at that point you might go, yeah, I'll take that, or no, I don't want to take that, right? All of these are sort of options that can happen, and I kind of like that players get the option to do that as well. All right, so we've been playing for a while. We'll wrap this up here at 4 hours. Hopefully everyone enjoyed at least enough to try again. And I'm looking forward to trying to run more of these. As I said, I'm still, I feel I'm still kind of picking it up, but we'll, hopefully it'll improve. So I guess we'll do the outro, and that's it for this one.